Hello and welcome to the MinnMax Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Suriel Vasquez.
Hello.
Jeff Marchiafava.
Hey.
And Kyle Hilliard.
Episode 1.
This is officially episode 1 of the MinnMax Show. Got out of that zero territory, left that behind. As you heard, an official new intro theme, not just whipped up, not pulled from YouTube's free music library, from Grant Kirkhope himself, legendary composer of such classics as GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark, Kingdoms of Amalur, all your favorites.
Mario vs. Rabbids,
That's
or whatever
true.
that game was called.
Thanks to Mr. Kirkhope. That was amazing. That was definitely one of the most fun things about starting up this entire initiative was just like, what would be a cool podcast intro? Let me just try and reach out to Grant Kirkhope.
Yeah.
It turns out we can do anything.
Honestly, that was a good first indicator of like, hey, turns out you can do a lot, right?
Yeah.
He just reached out to him like, hey, have you ever composed a song that's 15 seconds long? Would that be a fun challenge for you? He's like, yeah, I'm into it. How much are we talking? I was like, boy, that's a tough pitch. How much do you offer Grant Kirkhope?
He just replied $? Question mark.
Classic Kirkhope style.
Kirkhope.
No, but he was very generous.
I know, it's super exciting. And when you told us that, I was like sort of flabbergasted. I was like, what, really? Like he's up for that? That's fantastic. That's amazing.
I don't know if it's a good message to get out there that like, hey, send him money. He'll write music for you.
This professional person will do jobs if you give him money.
Yeah. Which reminds me, this is a Patreon. Patreon.com/MinnMax2Ns, as everybody knows. Check out the tiers there. If you are a $100 supporter or a $400 supporter or $750 supporter, you get a shout out on this podcast. Those are going to be kicking off during the month of November. So I guess next week is when we'll really go into that, lean into that full force. But that'll be a fun time because it's like, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but I used to host a show called The Game Informer Show. You guys were on it. You remember this? But like never one ad on that. And I know ads can be annoying for listeners, but there's an effed up part of myself where it's like, I think it'd be kind of fun to read an ad. Yeah. And now it's like, this is just giving shout outs to the community. And so it's a way of doing that while still the community is supporting us directly. It seems like the cleanest way, but also a fun way to kind of sort of deliver ads every week.
And we're super good at reading from a script too, so that's the fun part.
Very true. Also, there will be music underneath all the shout outs, and so if you want to skip it, you can. But I don't recommend you do because these people are supporting us, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
They're good.
Absolutely. We should point out everybody's good. After we recorded episode 0 before we launched, now that we're roughly 1 week into this thing, hey, you did it. The community did it.
Yeah.
It feels like we're flying in an airplane, right? 7 people randomly were yanked out of that airplane and thrown towards the ground. I spent 2 months in that airplane going, I got to get out of this airplane. And then I jumped out of the airplane.
With a bunch of parachutes.
Well, 0 parachutes, but one big cushion that was named the community waiting for us on the ground. And then it was like that old cell phone game where you had to like land directly on the community, and thank God that connected. So we can't thank the community enough for supporting this entire initiative.
You could have used the Metal Gear Solid 3 Halo jump analogy where you just...
Oh, that's much better. Okay, one more take. And back to the top.
I like Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah, but it is really scary because you go back and forth in your mind about like, I think this will be sustainable, like before I left, versus like, this could be a disaster. Because you think to so many of those moments where, I think we've all been there, right? Where we write a feature or make a video that we're really proud of, and then you try and share it, and it just gets 0 traction, and you're tweeting about it like, I'm so proud of this, please check it out. And then you look at the click-through rate, and it's like 4 people click through. It's like,
I visited the set of Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that worth anything? Yeah, I don't know. Not really, it turns out. But thank God everybody shared it. Like everybody that retweeted the announcement of MinnMax, 2 N's, of course, godsends. Everybody that's supporting us.
Yeah.
People that, the mod that have helped set up the Discord server
Insane.
in general.
Yes.
It is so action-packed. Every time I go in there, my head explodes, but at the same time, it also explodes alongside my heart. Because like it seems like it's a nice, positive community overall. People are like talking about tabletop games, music, all the different systems. It seems like if you want to find a place to meet up with other people, find people to talk about games with, it's an awesome place.
They're in there talking all the time.
Yes.
Whenever you go in there. And it is worth giving a second shout out to those mods because we really didn't know a whole lot about Discord.
Right.
And they came from other communities and stuff, and they were like, yeah, we can set this up. We'll do this and this and this. And it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, Lauren, Vaughn, and Roland, they're doing a great job.
Help.
So thanks to everybody there. And again, if you like this show, please share it. If you want to join that Discord, you can back us on Patreon, patreon.com/MinnMax, 2 N's, for any amount, and you can jump in there and have a good time. Oh, let's see. More
Good
table
first
setting.
episode.
There we go.
We recorded the first episode of The Deepest Dive, Community Game Club discussions for the Outer World. That is not going to appear on the MinnMax show feed. If you are a Patreon supporter, it's going to be, the audio for that is going to be in the exclusive audio feeds. You can listen to it there. Otherwise, it's a YouTube channel on youtube.com/MinnMaxGames. 2 N's. And so you can go there and check that out just to alleviate any confusion about where that Outer Worlds discussion is going to happen. But it's an hour and 40 minutes talking about the games basically, well, up until you land on the planet Monarch. Yeah. So the first 4 hours of the game.
So we've got hours of talking to go.
Yeah.
So many hours.
And you don't have to be a patron to see that on YouTube.
No. To listen to it, you do. But
you have to
see
subscribe to the internet, but nothing else.
That's right. That's right.
Or steal someone else's internet. You can do whatever you want.
The next episode of that discussion is going to appear on November 13th out of the blue. And that's going to be covering everything up until you land on Byzantium.
And I'm terrified because
how much content there is?
I barely limped through to the finish line the first time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that long, but I probably played like at least 12 hours during that opening.
Yeah,
oh my God.
So I'm going to have to focus a little more.
We talked about that game for almost 2 hours. I don't think we covered. You guys digging it or?
Yes. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm
But
super liking it.
I was saying, like, it's not my. I don't love that. I struggle. This is a weird thing to struggle with, but I struggle with games where you walk up to a person and have a long, drawn-out conversation with them with a single camera screen. Like even.
But Mass Effect doesn't bother you?
Mass Effect was like the one time I got out of my comfort zone, but even Witcher, I kind of have struggled with. Yeah. So. But
because it's the cinematography, or what are you talking about?
I think it's
You
just
don't
like I just
staring
want to
at
be
people's
active.
faces?
Like I just want to be doing something instead of just selecting from a menu. You know
Well,
what I mean?
about every
but
time-
the writing is good, and like I'm, so that's like I don't typically like this genre, but I'm getting into this one because it's like I like the tone, I like the shooting.
So
and
then
stuff.
for the Outer Worlds 2, what you'd want is like, here's the Fallout screen, but there's also like a little fidget spinner in the corner that you can like.
That's really smart.
something I
like
can
twiddle your
get
thumbs
a
with.
high score on or
Bundle
something.
it with Ring Fit Adventure so you can do the standby mode.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's like that episode of what's it called, Undone, where like she's just playing that one football game every time to distract her from like. You guys have seen this show, right? It's
Sure.
amazing. But there's an episode where she very distractedly plays a game because it helps her concentrate, basically. So that's that's what the sequel to the Outer Worlds should do.
I don't believe you, sir.
I've been liking it. Like I don't know that I have the same problem Kyle does, but like I think part of it is that if you break the game down into simple terms, it's just like go over here and talk to this person and do combat that, like I said, isn't like super interesting to me so far. It seems very simple, but I am enjoying like the content of those conversations. I think has been pretty strong so far.
Yeah,
I think
for sure. You know what show I love, Serial? Extra Life. Extra Life 2019.
New season
I think
coming up?
that's right. Once a year, it's a big event. So I believe the four of us are going back to the hallowed halls of Game Informer.
If they open the door.
If they unlock the door. And that'll be on this Saturday, November 2nd, starting at 8 a.m. We're going to be streaming for 25 hours. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, if you are a fan of gaming history and a nerd for gaming history, please tune in because we're going to be auctioning off not only amazing things that companies donated, but specifically a lot of Game Informer history stuff, and also Andy McNamara's old T-shirts and jackets and bags and just a bunch of stuff. And it's absurd. It's like a bomber jacket from the launch of the Sega Saturn and stuff. Like, it's so specific that it could go for pennies on the dollar. And honestly, all the money's going to charity, Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare. Hey, man, if you want to donate that money, resell that stuff on eBay, ain't got no problem with that. As long as the money we're getting is going to charity, right? Game on.
And Andy's
Sure.
worn every one of them too, so it's got like all his pheromones and
Andy
stuff
must.
on there.
Yeah, he's a potent man.
if you give him an extra $200, he'll sweat in it.
He's so embarrassed about those shirts, but it's amazing stuff. Honestly, if you're a fan of Naughty Dog, like there are T-shirts from Naughty Dog back in like 1995 that I doubt anybody at Naughty Dog owns. I'd be surprised if Jason Rubin or Andy Gavin have these T-shirts. So it's like it is just
like
an insane
old logos and stuff like that.
We
right?
have a bundle for Insomniac where it's like, hey, you can have a signed Spider-Man poster from the team. Awesome. An old Insomniac T-shirt, probably like mid 2000s. Awesome. Just to show how insane this is, there's also a T-shirt that's in really good shape for Disruptor, their first ever game on
really?
PlayStation, which is what, 96? Yeah, Spyro's 97? Yeah.
The
1996
first-person shooter.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're like Doom clone. You can't have a deeper cut gaming T-shirt than Insomniac's Disruptor, but that's such a cool move.
Yeah.
You will be a hero, a bit of a little town hero. So please, it'll be on Game Informer's YouTube and Twitch channel. So check it out over there. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could mirror it and also put it on
We can host it.
MinnMax's. Yeah, that might be interesting.
We can pirate it.
Shut up.
They'll never know.
I think this is a very interesting week, unless you're listening to it over the weekend. But it's an interesting week, I think, for the gaming universe because, Serial, you don't have to make eye contact with us at all. Death Stranding is out there for people reviewing it
That's
in
a
the
good
press.
Cold Stone face. He's not giving anything away.
God.
I can't talk about that.
The face of the creamery itself.
It is crazy that there are people out there who know a lot about Death Stranding.
Including somebody at this table.
Including
They
somebody
know
at this table.
possibly a review score for Death Stranding. And I have kept myself very clean on this.
Yeah.
I don't
want to know anything.
I've heard discussions, and I think it is very fascinating to watch the industry just not say anything. But pretty impressive that no one's like being coy and cheeky that I've seen, at least on
I
the
haven't
internet
seen
about
major
this.
leaks or anything.
Right.
Like I'm thankful for that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No huge spoilers. Serial, is it tough to keep secrets about Death Stranding?
Not really. I think I think I know where you guys are coming from. I know that this is a game where like you don't want spoilers, and I wouldn't want to spoil it for you. But I am excited to talk about it at some point and unload. But yeah,
Hopefully on this podcast.
Yeah.
Can we do that next week?
I mean, it's the first.
Yeah.
Is the embargo, so it's like basically tomorrow.
Okay.
For the listeners, right? So next week, we'd be. I mean, I could talk about it on Extra Life if technically, right?
Right.
So.
Oh my God, that's gonna be fascinating. Yeah, I guess we could play it on Extra Life. We're gonna have to.
Well,
Wait,
no,
we
the
can't.
streams are embargoed until the 7th.
Oh, okay. All right. By play it, I mean play the trailers.
That's right.
That's very exciting. Last week saw the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Jeff Marchiafava, you've been playing it?
Yeah,
I've been
played through
playing
it
it
yesterday.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm like halfway through the campaign, and then I've played a little bit of gunfight. How much have you played here?
I played through the entirety of the campaign, and then I tried all of the multiplayer modes yesterday. I think I played Gunfight the most because that one's cool.
Oh, really? It's just so quick and easy, and it's not overwhelming. And like, I think it'd be so fun. So the setup for this is it's a 2v2, set weapons. It's kind of derived from stuff like Gun Game, going back in the history of Call of Duty a little bit, right? Where it's just like you have a set loadout and it rotates through, and it's just 2v2, small paintball-esque arenas, and just, hey, whoever gets the first to so many kills wins. It's so pure and simple.
It's just you only have one life each round.
Yeah.
And so you have to eliminate the other team, which is only 2 people, and then it's best of 5 or 6 or something like that. And so,
And it goes really quick.
Yeah, it is pretty quick.
It's funny because it almost sounds like the literal opposite of Battle Royale. It's like fewer people, way faster.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Smaller area.
Kind of. I'll sign off on that.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
By the way,
It is team-based.
Okay.
So you have one other partner that
Yeah.
you run out. You immediately split. At least when I'm playing, you run the opposite direction.
yeah, and then you run into the wall and just kind of your legs move in that very video game way of running into a wall endlessly.
Yeah.
I did feel bad. I jumped into Modern Warfare the other day to test out like our streaming equipment because like just the audio levels of gunshots. Then I realized, I just jumped into a multiplayer match. Now I'm just firing at a wall and then quitting. It's like, I really screwed my team. I'm sorry, you guys. But it was worth it if you watched our Dream stream on Tuesday, which we'll be doing every
also
Tuesday.
a lot of gunfights in that. So,
A lot of gunfights.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. It's funny you bring up Battle Royale. It still is strange to me. So I visited Infinity Ward for the Game Informer cover story for Modern Warfare. They were so cagey about Battle Royales and Call of Duty Modern Warfare. There is no Battle Royale in this one, which is a bummer because I really love Blackout, and Black Ops 4 is one of my favorite games last year. And every time asking them about a Battle Royale in Modern Warfare, they go, we're focusing on these multiplayer modes for now. It is so much hedging that it's like there's something brewing, but it's unclear exactly the format.
And it also feels like the multiplayer offerings right now are a little more drilled down than usual. Like there isn't as much, there's like team deathmatch, there's domination,
There's Ground War, which is a
Yeah.
huge environment, right? So it's a
Yeah.
lot of the tech that would be used in a hypothetical battle royale. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just like there wasn't gun game, which
Right.
was one of the modes I always liked, or like Kill Confirmed, I think is the other one where you're picking up the dog tags. Like those were the kind of offshoots that I always liked, and so
Yeah.
it was like, I guess I played a lot of Gunfire of that because of that because that
Gunfight,
was
yeah. Yeah. Would you be into a battle royale? Are you hoping for one in the future, or are you battle royaled out?
Yeah, I'd play it. I mean, I guess the thing that I liked about Blackout, which I don't like about the Ground War, is
Yeah.
that what it's called now, is Blackout had a different pace than the usual Call of Duty, where it was slower.
Yeah.
You could kind of get your bearings and stuff. And so when I went into Ground War,
Just call it Battlefield. It's just Battlefield.
yeah, well, that's exactly what I was thinking going into
Yeah.
it. I was like, okay, this is going to be like Battlefield. And then it was like, I'm running, and then it's like, oh, instantly dead. Right. This is Call of Duty paced, multiplayer matches.
Right.
As opposed to where Blackout was the kind of thing where I could play a match for 10 minutes without dying. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of pace that I've always liked. That's why I've always preferred Battlefield over Call of Duty.
Right.
And that the Ground War one doesn't really do it for me as much because of that.
Have either of you guys tried the realism mode?
Yeah, and that's the other one that I played. I played that the second most, which, I mean, at least the only times when I played it, it was just team deathmatch.
Yeah.
But I don't know why that's more appealing to me. Maybe it just kind of levels the playing field a little bit, brings it down to my level basically, where
Right.
I have a better chance of staying alive and stuff. But that was an interesting mode.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically just strips out all the UI and stuff, and so
Add some tension to base
Yeah.
multiplayer, which is
Yeah.
great. That's, I'm not the biggest fan of standard Call of Duty team deathmatch multiplayer because I don't feel like I have that many emotions. Maybe I'm just not good enough to be competitive to the point where I'm not throwing a controller. Whereas Blackout, like, I'm sweating bullets. I'm doing the Holy Cross signage. It's like I feel like
Wait,
there's
are
so
you
much
Catholic?
tension for me. I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Whereas that, it's a sea of chaos. Campaign. You finished it.
Yes.
Biggest takeaway.
My biggest takeaway, well, I think it's probably the best campaign that they've done for a number of years.
Really? Did you
Which-
play Infinite Warfare?
Yes.
What about
Oh,
Black
you like
Ops 4?
It took me a while to register that one. Yeah, I think that says more just about the state of those campaigns and stories that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But I felt like this one, it had a good variety in the missions. I think mission to mission, it was a little hit or miss for me. But I think the ones that I did enjoy, I enjoyed a lot in terms of overall series. There were some really good ones in
Okay,
there.
so the good ones, are they more in the vein of classic Modern Warfare missions, or is it when they're trying to be a little bit edgier and be different?
Not so much edgier, but the different ones. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you played the Highway of Death
No, not yet.
mission.
No.
It's one where basically they take you out and you're kind of overlooking this highway in the Middle East while you're waiting for a convoy to come through, and you're just sitting way back with a giant sniper rifle, and enemies are coming out and stuff, but it actually takes bullet drop and time
interesting.
of distance and wind and stuff into account, and so you're having to like actually spot and try and figure out where to shoot and
Do you
stuff
think this
like
is
that.
their kind of, I mean, it's dumb to say, well, snipers, but do you think this is their reference to All Gillied Up, of like taking that final shot in All Gillied Up in the original where you have to factor in the wind and all that
it
stuff?
kind of feels like that, but like a full blown level. And
Yeah.
then later, like people are coming out and they're firing mortars on you. And you're just looking at like the entire landscape, like miles and miles, and it's like, where is this coming from? And it will hit, and your teammates are like, you got to take those guys out, like figure out where they are. And you're
Yeah.
like, you're looking and you're zooming in, and you're like kind of whittling it down and figuring out. And like those are the moments where it's not just the normal, follow this guy through a shooting gallery. You're kind
Right.
of doing something different. It's a different pace and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Did you guys see that thing about how apparently that specific mission, they're like, oh yeah, the Russians were responsible for the Highway of Death incident, where in reality it was actually like Americans who were largely responsible for what happened there during
I
the
did
Gulf
not
War.
see
Oh,
that.
really?
That's
Oh,
a
wow.
really weird like retcon that they pull in that game for. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think they did it kind of to hamstring it into a larger narrative, or like what do you think that might have
Man,
happened?
I don't know. I like my endorsement of this game would have to kind of divorce the narrative stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you could look at in this game and get really grossed out by and be uncomfortable with.
On what level?
I mean, just throughout it, I think there are like one of the big things that they were looking at in this is, this whole idea of assessing threats, as you're going through, like, is this person actually going to shoot at you?
Are they reaching for a gun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they? And there are certain times where I feel like they go too far with it and it just kind of gets gross. And like they're putting you in these situations to try and kind of force you to make that decision. The biggest problem that I have with that, though, is that when they do it, it's like they're trying to make it more realistic and they're trying to put you in that hard situation. But if you make the wrong call and you shoot an innocent person, most of the time it just goes to a fail state and says like, oh, you don't shoot civilians. So that's not what we do.
Right.
So we're gonna rewind time 30 seconds and you're gonna do like the Groundhog's Day take and like you're gonna perfect
Until
you're
you
gonna
get it
perfect it
right.
until you get it right.
Right. Yeah.
And that's.
And then you make a snowman with the Russians.
Yeah. And that I think that's problematic. In
What
kind
else
of,
are they going to do?
Well, it's like a weird long-winded version of the like when you're like, hey, would you like to go on a quest with me? And like in a JRPG, and you say no. Well, would you like to go on a quest with me? And you basically until you say yes, they kind of loop you back around.
Except but they're asking you like, don't you really have to think about things now? Like you're trying to attach some message to
where
that
they're like,
RPG loop.
Do you actually want to go on a quest with this guy? And but then
Right.
it's like they're trying to make you think of the repercussions, but ultimately you have to pick yes anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't questing hell?
Yeah.
yeah, but along those lines, it also feels like you don't have to think about it too much because if you make the wrong decision, you just redo it until you get it right. And I wish there were some kind of consequences with that. Like, just make me live with it, Like, I made the wrong call. I shot this person I shouldn't have. If they could have worked that into the narrative some way, that would have been even more impactful. But this kind of just feels like, you're going to perfect it until you're the guy who knows exactly who to shoot and who not to shoot.
Right.
And that kind of feels weak to me.
Yeah, for sure. And when we're at the studio, we even talked to them about like, do you want to randomize it a little bit about? And they're like, no, we don't feel like that's the game we're trying to make here. Is like the guessing game that's going to change every time. That doesn't feel very Call of Duty.
Yeah. So instead, it's just kind of trial and error until you get it right. But that said, a lot of the different missions are really interesting, and they do have fun moments.
I'm amazed just, halfway through it, at least, when we're at the studio and they showed like the two primary campaign missions that they demoed for everybody behind closed doors. It was when you're entering the house in London, which is like kind of quiet, slowly going up the stairs, and it's so compact. And I think a really interesting, if pretty brutal mission. And then there's one later on in the campaign where you play as a kid in a very brutal. And when they only demo those two, they even told us, like, these are extremes. Don't expect the entire campaign to be like that. But playing through it, it's like, I'm amazed how much more it feels like the original Modern Warfare, because we just played through the remastered for a game club back at Game Informer. Like, the missions don't feel that different overall from that original game of like, I'm just kind of following some soldiers going through and shooting things and big explosions, and here's a chase through a Middle Eastern city. It's like, this is still Modern Warfare as all hell. Yeah.
It's not a complete rewrite. It just does seem, it feels like some missions do have a little more variety, or like one of the early ones, they drop you into a city that's being occupied by other people, and at some point, you're following a character around, and at some point they're like, okay, you gotta go attach these explosives to these two helicopters. Yeah. And you have to figure out like how to navigate around and get to the helicopters. There's guards everywhere, and you're kind of wearing a disguise, so you have to kind of blend in and stuff. And at that point, you don't have like the follow me person, and it's not immediately clear like how do I even get up there?
Should we say the answer? Because I think it's silly and shows where we're at.
What was the answer?
I mean, just like for me, it's like I picked up a brick and then made it seem like I was like carrying the brick like everybody else up there. It's like, it's just weird for a Call of Duty objective is like, pick up a brick, pretend you're hauling it to this location, and then they'll let you by.
Yeah, that's one part. But then like further in the city, I just had a hard time, like I was going around the building, like trying to figure out like how do you, it's not like a glowing ladder is there.
It's crazy too. Just, it'll have a reminder on the screen every once in a while, like, hey, hit the touchpad to see the objective. But they're trying to hide that more than I think Call of Duty has ever done.
Yeah.
You know, it's been 2 years since the campaign, obviously.
Yeah.
But at least with World War II, at least, it just feels so different. Yeah.
Yeah, and so those were the interesting missions to me.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a little bit of that situation where they're emphasizing story so much, and I really enjoyed the story in Infinite Warfare, and I feel like with this one, at least halfway through, if you did the classic thing, put a gun to my head, Kyle, I don't know if I could have a great version of what this story is about.
I mean,
it feels a little bit jumbled and confusing so
I played
far.
the first 3 missions yesterday, you and me, and I was like going through the 3rd mission, and Jeff was like, "Hey Kyle, where are you?" And I was like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. What are you doing? Who are you?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm a hipster who's in the CIA, I guess.
I think they.
Jeff won't stop screaming about this guy's sideburns in the CIA.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. He has like the 1920, like his. Not only does he have a mustache, but it's even kind of twirly at
This
the
isn't
ends.
Price, right? This is the other guy?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, Alex.
Although they look like they're related, like the character models are very close, but then he also has like the shaved line, into his hair, and it's like, and this guy's supposed to work for the CIA? Like, that's not.
Just look like someone went with all their favorite individual options in the character creator. It's like, I like this mustache, but I'm gonna have this weird, just this incoherent face.
Yeah.
But the story does get a little more comprehensible as you go on, and I think
It starts to focus down a little bit.
Yeah, they focus more on the character, like a couple characters in it, and that's interesting. I think they did a pretty good job with those characters.
Nice, yeah.
As opposed to a lot of modern warfares and Battlefield games and stuff like that. They don't always have characters that have their own motivations and stuff like that. And
It's
so,
not just talking over PowerPoint presentations
Yes,
between levels.
yeah.
Right. I don't want to suggest anything, but if someone wants to write in with a game in the future, I think a very fun game would be Call of Duty games, voice protagonist or silent protagonist. Because it is all over the place throughout the history of Call of Duty. Yeah, it's a fun little guessing game. I'm playing on a base PS4, and that thing looks good.
Yeah, I am too. And yeah, I guess that should have been the big takeaway that we started with.
Holy God, this might be one of the
looks-
best looking games of the generation.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, can you think of a game that looks better right now that's out?
No, I was trying to, and I was thinking, like Red Dead looks amazing.
Yep.
But I think there's still an even higher level of polish, and it's kind of unfair because Modern Warfare is so much more focused.
Of course, yeah.
It's they kind of they know where you're going, and it's a little more focused and scripted like that.
Yeah.
But
I don't.
in terms of just making things look
And
amazing,
the sound design, I think, is incredible too so far.
I was just going to mention Gears 5, actually.
Oh, really?
I don't love that game, but I think it looks really
Yeah, it looks
good.
really
But
good.
that's not to diminish Call of Duty at all. That was I only played a few levels yesterday, and I was like, holy crap, this looks amazing.
Because they're so good at the second mission, I guess. It's Johnny Sideburns, CIA. They put him in the forest and having the light filter through the trees at night. It's like they know exactly how to wow you over there. It's really impressive.
A lot of it is lighting, which I appreciate. The nerd part of me appreciates when it's not just, hey, we have even higher textures this time. It's like, no, they really put it into the lighting and shadows and stuff, which, is very intensive, but they figured out a way to do it even on, the base PS4s and stuff like that.
So way to go, Infinity Ward. It seems like they pulled it off by and large. That studio has had such a weird history. Since the Great Exodus, the, Vincent Pella, Jason West deal, and then the founding of Respawn, it was that weird idea where Infinity Ward was gutted. A lot of the senior team went over with West and Zimpella to found Respawn. People chose to stay behind. It's an odd situation for everybody. Has no relevance to what we're doing.
Strange, yeah.
But it's just a very weird thing because I went over there for the Call of Duty Ghost cover story trip, and that was just kind of not skeleton crew, right? But it was very much hey, they had just been really hurt, and now they were trying to build back up. After that, then they brought in a bunch of former Neversoft developers to help out as well. And so they slowly, by the time Infinite Warfare came out, had a pretty solid team rolling. Some people really like that game, the campaign in particular. And that's when, they brought in the narrative leads that came over from Naughty Dog, stuff like that. And then this great infusion happened, right, where people left Respawn, where it's the art director, animator, senior multiplayer designer. They left Respawn and then went back to Infinity Ward. And it's just this bizarre fusion of they were rebuilding on their own. They were basically there. And now it's here's this boost, which should be a good thing. But then it's okay, how well do these two teams collide and work together? And it's amazing that, at least from the outside at least, it's hey, not so bad.
Yeah. I think there are certainly criticisms to be made, and depending on where you're coming from and what you're looking for in these kind of games, I think I've seen some articles out there that are calling things out, and I think that's totally valid, and there are certainly ways that you can look at it, but I think it does feel like an entry that stands out from where the series has kind of been shooting everywhere the past couple of years and trying to figure something out, and this does feel like a kind of standout installment.
Right on.
And I'm happy for it. I do hope there's more competitive multiplayer stuff coming, and that they grow that a little more. But
yeah, I'm sure they will. Yeah. Real quick on the Game Informer show, which by the way, there's a new episode out today with Andy McNamara hosting now. You can check out. I'm going to listen to it. That's going to be fun. But on that, a while ago, we ran like the full audio of this interview with a lot of those returning Respawn devs talking about integrating back in the studio. And one of the reasons I wanted to get that audio out there is because it spoke so much to me at that time, in that era, because it is them talking about leaving Respawn and how hard that was. And I remember Jeffrey Smith said that it was like breaking up with 40 girlfriends at the same time. And it's like, that is such a heartbreaking analogy, right? But that interview is back in the Game Informer show feed if you want to go check it out. Fun stuff. Serial Vasquez Afterparty.
Yeah.
From the creators of Oxenfree.
Yeah, I reviewed it for GameSpot.com.
Is that true?
Video game website, yeah.
I love that site.
You should go check it out.
Yeah, I think you tweeted that it was exciting to like have an
that
official
was for
byline
another review I did for them. But
okay.
Yeah, keep up, Hanson.
How many reviews are you doing for them?
I've done 2.
he's hustling.
Okay. Is it fun?
Yeah. They have a similar editing process to ours, where they do take to Game Informer's old editing thing.
Well, we put those tweets through a few passes the other day,
that's
right?
true.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, Afterparty. I think if you played Oxenfree, you kind of know what you should go in expecting. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of walking around. I think Oxenfree's strongest trait, which was these very like dynamic and fluid conversations, I think are back here. And I think the story goes in some interesting places. So like the premise is that 2 characters, Milo and Layla, have wound up in hell, and they're not entirely sure why. And they're trying to. So like the basic premise is that they're going in line to be sentenced to internal damnation, but like the line basically ends and says, well, it's like my cutoff. It's like 5 p.m. let's say, and then the guy is like, well, I'm gonna go home. So you guys come back here tomorrow morning and we'll sentence you. But they're like, well, I heard of this loophole where if you can out-party Satan, you get to go free, and you get your life back and you get to go back to the surface. So they're like, okay, how do we do that? And so a lot of it, like one of the strongest assets this game has also is like its premise of hell is just very banal. It's very like, hey, we like eternal damnation kind of got boring for the demons because they worked so hard to like try to figure out how to torture humans. So it's like they're basically all like, well, we work from 9 to 5, and then after that we go out, like everyone, humans and demons alike, go out and like go to bars and stuff, and there's like some demon only bars, some people only bars, but
that's
like
fun. The developers at Night School, they compared it a lot to Beetlejuice when we interviewed them before, of like, oh, we just love that idea of hell or even purgatory just being bureaucratic. It's a little bit Grim Fandango in the same way, right?
And
have you heard of that movie Risk Cutters? Have you ever seen that?
No.
It kind of sounds familiar, where it's like people stuck in like a purgatory trying to figure out where to go next. It's interesting.
It does feel a little bit more like purgatory, where it's not like, oh, here are the world's like worst criminals and people who've murdered like 40 people. It's just like people who just didn't, live up to what they
people
thought
with
was
vanity license plates.
Yeah. So like they talk about things like you're in here for the crime of like, like there's a very early exchange where Milo meets Satan very early on in the game. I don't want to spoil anything, but like he asks him like, why are we here, right? Like what did we do to deserve this? And he tells him about like a story of like there's a guy like right now in Spain, in Madrid or whatever, who picked out who's like helping her girlfriend like set a dress, and it's like he knows it'll be too cold when they go visit the theater, but it's very revealing, so this is the dress that he's doing, so when they're out in the town, and like the implication being that's why he's in hell, right? So like the idea is like, well, what did you do to deserve anything besides hell, right? So that's kind of like what they're pushing. So they talk a lot about like here's So it gets very personal into like Lilo or Milo and Lola's personal lives about like how they grew up, sort of a lot of the conflicts they had with their parents and things like that. And a lot of people's problems are just very personal, like human problems that they have. And they explore those topics really, really well through that same kind of like, it doesn't feel written, like Javina?
Conventions?
No. The lady who was like the main character in this Battlefront 2.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Let me think here now that I have a laptop in front of me. But yes,
so she's one of the main characters, and like Ashley Birch is in it. She's kind of like Sam, the kind of the person who's guiding you through, who basically helps you figure out what you're supposed to do. So they all act their roles really, really well. Like none of these lines feel written. A lot of them feel very ad-libbed. They talk in the way that people do, where they like they'll go through half a sentence and then they'll restart it. So it feels very expressive in a real way.
And fully voiced, right?
Yeah, so the whole game's fully voiced. The twist here is that you have a drinking mechanic where you usually want to have a drink in your hand at all times, and they're very like fanciful. Like one of this is like, hey, here's a cocktail that's made out of like ginger ale, horse blood, and like a bunch of like very demonic. Like one of them is called literally acid, and it's like, well, it'll get you real messed up real quick. And so like different drinks will unlock different dialogue options, and a lot of them are like liquid courage, but one of them will make you feel like a bully, one of them will make you talk like a pirate, things like that. It's like an interesting mechanic on the surface, but they don't really use it super well because it's basically, in terms of unlocking new dialogue options, there are cases where you'll need to have drunk something before you can proceed. But it doesn't matter what you've selected, right? It's just a lot of those options are just for flair of like, oh, if you want to approach this conversation and sound like a pirate the whole time, that's for fun, but it doesn't necessarily, no one ever questions like, why are you talking like a pirate? And because of that, the storyline is going to diverge differently. Like they don't do that with it. It's more like, how do you? Yeah, it's all for flavor.
Well, did they record the full game in pirate speak?
No. It's like you're like there will be certain responses that'll like. So as they're talking to you, you'll along the line get choices.
Okay.
So like certain parts of the game are you would be the pirate, right? And there are certain lines that you would have as a pirate.
Okay. Gotcha.
So like it's usually like the third option, right? So which is what you're gonna usually pick, right? Because it's like here's the special one that you can only have if you're drinking. Yeah. So it does feel like it kind of funnels you towards certain choices that you wouldn't make otherwise.
Do you think it's well written? Is it like one of the best narratives?
I think it's fantastically well written. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I think one of my problems with the story is that it does such a good job of like going off in these little tangents and telling you these little stories that factor into the game's larger morality tale. But I think the main plot is kind of just kind of there as a vehicle for that stuff.
Right.
So it feels a little bit like Clerks, where they're just talking about like a lot of random stuff, but the thing they are doing throughout the movie isn't super compelling, and the ending is kind of like it kind of doesn't climax the way it would. But
it feels a lot like Oxenfree.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think a lot of it has to do with like they are tackling more like real world problems, right? And those real world like there aren't a lot of like pivotal like grandiose moments in most people's lives that would like be the end of a movie, right? So the game just kind of peters out towards the end. But I still really liked it. I think the interaction stuff notwithstanding, I think it is a solid story told from beginning to end, and it's well acted, well written, and like the music is pretty good.
Cool.
So like if you're a fan of like story based games, narrative stuff, I would definitely check it out. It's especially if you like Oxenfree. It's
Afterparty. It's called.
Afterparty.
It's on the Epic Games Store on PC. Mm-hmm. It's weird that game had a weird history where Microsoft was promoting it, like at GDC, like Microsoft was hosting press events for it. But then also it was in the state of play from PlayStation. I feel like every company has like supported this game, which is nice to see. Maybe there's a secret bidding war to buy Night School Studios. Who knows? Name of that actress, by the way, was Janina Gavankar.
Yeah.
Gavankar. She's the one who leaked Horizon Zero Dawn 2, remember?
That's right.
Perfect. She's at some
Jason talks about it.
It's very funny. Remember, she's at that like convention or something, and somebody was recording her, and then someone said, "Oh, I love you in Horizon Zero Dawn." She's like, "Just wait to see what they're doing with the sequel. It's so amazing."
Well,
it's like, wait, what?
Do you think that's now? I second guess all that because if she's hanging out with Ashley Birch, right?
Oh,
like
interesting.
Maybe she just like heard things from Ashley.
Oh, well, still, if she's hearing things from Ashley,
like whether or not she's in it, she leaked it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Afterparty.
Yeah.
Better than Horizon Zero Dawn 2, says Sergio Vasquez.
That's right.
Here's a weird question.
Wow.
What score did you give it for GameSpot?
I gave it a 7, which means it's good. That is what they say on their scale.
Oh no! Now this is all we're in no man's land, baby. All right, here we go.
Yeah, all our freelance reviews that we're going to be doing are going to be like, okay, here's their scale.
Not associated with us. We would like to do a review like Verdict for MinnMax, but those details are still up in the air.
Yeah, we're figuring it out.
We're figuring it out.
So how many cheese biscuits would you give Call of Duty?
Oh, boy. Get out of here.
Get the hell out of here. Hey, have you guys heard of Kotaku.com?
Oh, yeah.
Sergio Vasquez, can you explain what happened with Kotaku this week?
Yeah, so...
What did you do to Kotaku?
Yeah, I messed that place up.
I like Kotaku, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, I like them too, but they just gotta stick to games, So what ended up happening was that a little while ago, Farmers Insurance placed an ad bid with the Geo Media Group. They're their owner entity.
Geo, Gawker, Onion.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So like they're owned by a private equity firm at this point, and so they placed an ad buy for $1 million. With the expectation that they would get like 43.5 million impressions by the end of September 2020. And so the way that the people in charge of, that part of the, Geo Media decided that they would use a lot of autoplay ads to do that, which are like, they're very annoying when you click on a website, and you hear a sound, you're like, where's it coming from?
For the audio, yeah.
Yeah. And so like you try to turn it off. So they started using those a lot, which they hadn't been using a lot. And in their statement, they say like, hey, we only tested it with like 6% of the audience. But apparently it was enough of a big deal that every Geo Media owned site had the same post where it's like, hey, if you don't like those ads, here's where you can tell the executives behind it.
Politely send some feedback. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so those posts were very quickly taken down by management, which could potentially be against the union contract because Geo employees unionized a little while ago, and part of their agreement was that like any attempts to take down a post from the site had to be a 3-0 unanimous
vote,
or it had to be majority vote.
Yeah.
And the statement from media said like, hey, it was a unanimous vote, but apparently all three of the people who are voting wouldn't be in a position to accurately represent the views of their employees. So it's maybe like
it got a 3-0 from Geo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. So in light of that, they took down the post, and a lot of the people who wrote things for them had been covering. I was like, hey, this post went up. Here's where you can give them feedback. They took it down. Kotaku did, like the Kotaku editors had no hand in this, basically.
Right.
And the union rep, like the Twitter account, basically said, hey, we condone this in the strongest possible terms. Mm-hmm. And around that time, they had also fired.
Condemn this.
Yeah, they condemned this. Sorry.
Okay. Similar words, different meanings.
Yeah, words. So around this time, I want to say the deputy editor who was in charge in lieu of the editor-in-chief who had resigned a few weeks ago had been taken to task a little bit for not sticking to sports, right?
On Deadspin.
On Deadspin specifically.
So Deadspin was told all articles you write need to relate to sports.
Right.
And people said, boy, there's other stuff to cover here. And hey,
right.
Management wants sports. Sports equals money.
Yeah, because
Right.
Deadspin was covering just all kinds of like internet
So
culture and
they
different
had this like
things
off-topic thing called the Concourse, which was basically in no small terms a replacement for Gawker, which is basically the site that was basically jettisoned as part of like the Hulk Hogan lawsuit.
This all ties back to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And his
As
all
all
roads
things
lead
in
to the
life
This
do.
is why WWE 2K20 was awful this year.
When Gawker went down, like I think the Concourse and a few other sites, I think Jezebel for a little bit, picked up the idea of let's just cover general news.
Yeah.
And surprise, like when like a lot of the posts they were doing outside of sports were their best performing ones. If anything, like they were getting more out of that than actual sports, but they still branded themselves as a sports site. So the management, the equity firm was basically like, hey, start sticking to sports. I think a lot in part because they were kind of like afraid of what happened with Gawker happening again, because it's like, hey, we're gonna like Gawker was known for like kind of exploring territory, being kind of on the cutting edge of like trying to upset people in power. Yep. And so that eventually they got the mandate to stick to sports, and in very recently, like the deputy editor had made the choice to have nothing but non-sports articles promoted in the top tab of the site.
Badass.
And so he was eventually fired, I think, the day after he did that. And so again, the media said like, hey, part of the union contract was that you can't fire anyone without us knowing about it. Mm-hmm. So right now, editors from Kotaku and other sites had said like, hey, the sites are still up. Like we didn't post for a little while, but we're back and we're still working. I know Heather Alexandra, who I believe is reviewing Death Stranding for them, so it's like, hey, I would love to tell you about Death Stranding on Friday. We'll see.
Right. Steven Totillo tweeted, hey, another tough day at the office. I've steered Kotaku through some rough waters before thanks to my amazing team. Can I do it again? We'll see. We all love the site and the family of sites we're in and are extremely motivated to do right by our readers and viewers.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff in contention right now as to see what will happen. And I think this morning it was announced that like Farmers Insurance had actually pulled out of that specific ad buy. And so, if you, like, who knows what will come of that specifically, but it seems like, management is in kind of a bit of a feud with the people who work at the sites that make money for them.
Yeah.
Which is
it's a tough spot to be in. Yeah, for sure for those teams. Like I like Kotaku. I know that it's one of those things where it's like, oh, apparently they've just been flooded with hate, people saying tear down Kotaku, but like out of any other site, and I just tweeted about this a while ago, but like out of any other site, whenever I see a Kotaku tweet and a headline, so I was like, God, that's a good headline. Yeah. God, that's smart. That is, it's not clickbaity, but I'm just compelled to click on it because it's just so out there. Yeah. And that's the work of the team. That's the hard work of the team, finding different angles for things, digging up stories that other sites aren't covering. Like it's a really novel team.
And it feels like the internet constantly forgets that, like, you just don't have to click on something if you don't like it, Like, right. I like the idea of there being lots of different outlets out there and they're exploring their own way of doing these kind of things, you know? And, like, if one part of it doesn't rub you the right way or if you just don't like Kotaku at all, fine,
Yeah, but don't follow them on Twitter. Don't share their articles.
It doesn't have to be a burn the place down.
Right.
Like, and it was a similar situation that we ran into for a little bit, where people were like, see, like they're going down with the ship. This is all this like, go woke, get woke, go broke stuff, where it's like you're being punished for your ethical standards, and that is like not really what's going on here. It's more of like just the people at the top don't know what they're doing, so you're going to be punished. Like I imagine those sites are doing super well, like the way that we were doing pretty well.
Like, it seems like editorial is just being like, look, we know what we're talking about here. Like, let us maintain what we have going.
Right. So it's like the fact
don't want these stupid ads.
Yeah, like the fact that people are like, you're being punished for like what I hate you for, right?
Yeah.
It's just so like, if you were actually thought this through and thought about the reasons those people their jobs are potentially endangered, or who knows, you would think twice, because this is 100% corporate power stepping on editorial integrity,
right?
And so like, you should be mad about this, regardless of what you think of Kotaku, because if it happens to them, it could happen to whatever outlet you do like.
And it's important too to stress, there might be some analogies to make about certain institutions or the founding of those.
Right about corporations right now.
And to be fair, it wasn't as clear for us as management coming in and dictating editorial or taking
situation.
Anything down. Yeah, entirely. But just I think the connecting thread is just the idea that sometimes, ambiguously, corporations can be dumber than you could possibly imagine because they're big and clumsy and overall probably pretty stupid. Yeah. It's a real miracle for an entire corporation to be smart, and they don't understand the base level ground roots community. Like, I think the overall big picture, if you zoom out from almost everything, for a lot of things on the internet, it's corporations are dumber than you think and online communities are smarter than you think. Yeah. And I think, last week for us was a testament to that.
Yeah, it's just a lot of that. It just really comes down to like the Deadspin stuff kind of notwithstanding. The fact that this is coming down to like people trying to implement ads that people had long forgot, like had all agreed, like those suck. Those are not good ads. I'm not going to buy the product just because there's a loudspeaker.
Actively make me avoid Farmers Insurance.
Right, exactly.
Right. And Kotaku, like I'm going to go to those sites less because those kind of ads annoy me.
I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, it's telling that through all this, Farmers has pulled out now. I mean, like, just because, like,
turns out that's not the publicity they were looking for.
Like, ultimately, like, it did stem, from these bad sort of ad practices.
J.K. Simmons hates those ads.
It obviously blew up into something much larger in this bigger discussion, but, like, the core of the problem was, like, we don't want these type of ads on the site, and Farmers is like, well, people are upset about these ads, so we're leaving now.
Yeah. Not our tempo. And it's like, it's so stressful to see Kotaku employees not sure about what situation they're in, what the future might hold.
Like, they said, hey, Kotaku's still around. Like, we're still alive and fighting. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. But it seems like there's still a fight to be had internally there. So best of luck to everybody over there. Let's see. Oh, what is this, Kyle?
The big recap.
This is the big recap. When you remember that time I just remember this when you guys were fired. Remember Jeff when you were Jeff when you had been working at that place for like 10 years and then
I can't. Okay, hold on.
I forgot about that.
and then for absolutely no reason you're like that was really fun.
Totally forgot. Oh, it's just.
I
silly,
feel
man.
like we've missed some games because of that, and you probably haven't had an outlet. By the way, does it feel good to talk about games into a microphone, Jeff?
It feels super good.
This is the part that I genuinely want to know about you. Is you seem to enjoy it. When you were talking about Call of Duty, I was thinking like, oh, I'm glad Jeff is talking about this. This is nice to look at his lips while he's talking about this.
I'm not listening to anything he says, but boy,
Is that why you're rubbing your belly going,
lips.
content?
But at the same time, I feel like so many times at Game Informer, it was like, hey, who wants to be on the podcast? Who wants to be on emails? Suriel and Kyle's hands would shoot up and they'd try to launch themselves through the ceiling. You were a little reluctant, and I'm curious about how that connects.
It was 90% stress of all the other stuff that I have to do. And
Right.
that is the through line of why this whole thing has been so exciting to me of like, I always wanted to do more videos, you know,
Oh,
like,
really?
like that was the thing I was excited about. Every time, you know, Reiner would come by and like, hey, you want to be on replay? It was always like, yeah, I do, but I got all these other things that I got to get done. you
right.
know? And
Which
that
was what?
feedback and my column and those kind of proofing
Yeah,
when that,
I
you know,
reviewing pinball games?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hanson, I don't know if you noticed, but we had a whole magazine we had to work on every
Yeah.
month.
What are you talking about?
So like when we went on those cover trip stories,
Yeah.
like one of us would have to write like a 5,000 plus word article when we got back.
Yeah, dude, we weren't just there to carry your camera equipment for you.
Really? To haul it to the airport? Oh.
So
that makes
like
sense.
yeah, that's I mean I share some of like Jeffem's sentiment there where it's like when I couldn't do something it's like the number one priority is the thing that you know pays all of our text, which is this magazine.
Yeah.
So like when I was super busy and had like 4 or 5 previews or something to do, you know there was like that whole fighting game issue that I basically wrote a ton of.
Which one was this?
The Mortal Kombat 11.
That's
Is that what
right,
you say?
that's right.
That was that time you went to Chicago. Yeah.
I just remember making a silly video in Chicago with you.
yeah.
So like there were times where it's like I would love to be on all this other content. I have ideas for stuff that I'd love to do, but like
Yeah.
I need to sit down and write this like 10-page cover story. Right.
Yeah.
So
And the other half of that is when you don't have time to play the games or be up on whatever, you know, you're going to be talking about, then it's like, well, you know, like what am I going to contribute to it?
Right. And
Whereas
now-
now it's like, hey, we have that time. Well, we have that time. But yeah, it's just like we're going off of what the community wants to hear about,
Yeah.
and we can, you know, there's now 4 of us instead of a staff of 18 of us to tackle things. So when a game comes in, it's like we're going to be the ones talking about it, you know,
Right,
as
right.
opposed to, well, you know, Joe's going to play that game because Joe's always looked at that series, and you know, it kind of things get parceled out different ways. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. You had commented like, "Oh, this is so nice just to do things directly for the community." When you just like popped into the house yesterday or whatever to record the game club, it's like, "All right, then see ya."
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go home and play more Modern Warfare, so we
Yeah.
can talk about that.
Yeah. Have you read feedback? So you used to write all of feedback in Game
No,
Informer. You did such a
I
good
don't
job.
think has another issue come out since.
Yeah, the Pokemon issue.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't check. I
Okay.
haven't gotten
It's
that one
bizarre
yet.
to look at it and be like, "Oh, this is not Jeffem's voice."
So you did not write that one?
No, I think
Okay.
Ghost Recon would have been the last
Oh,
one.
you wrote breakpoints.
No, I did the feedback in that issue.
No. Yes,
That's
I
what we're
meant for
talking
feedback.
about.
Yeah. Okay, specifically, got it.
I think I did. I think that was the last one, right?
Those last couple of weeks
Yeah,
are
I mean,
fun thing.
that was the Breakpoint issue was the last one because I had a
Yeah.
Evo feature
Yeah.
in that for
Yeah.
sure. So, and
Oh
I
yeah,
think I have a couple of
and
reviews.
Bert's wrote it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bless his soul.
After he was let go. Yeah. Fun for everybody. That reminds me. So that was
jeez.
August 20th. Let's get caught up on our opinions on these games that came out since then. All right, I've been dying to ask you, since the layoffs, what did you think of August 20th's release of Double Fine's Rad?
I think we talked about it on the Game Informer show because I reviewed it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Perfect start.
Control came out. It was very much up your alley, Kyle,
Yes.
and you have not talked about it yet.
I love that game.
Oh, really? Love.
And I said I was going to love that game the moment I saw it, and I'm very
wouldn't
proud of
let
myself for
yourself
loving that
hate
game. No, I really not. I really like Remedy, and I feel like that's like classic Remedy. Like I think
Yeah.
Max Payne. Well, I think actually I take it back. I think Alan Wake is still my favorite
Mm-hmm.
Remedy, but I would put Control second. Like I love how weird it is. I love the action. I love
Yeah.
the shooting. I love like combining flying and like shooting and stuff like that. It feels so good, and I just like how weird everything is. I love the design of that world. Feels like the last 20 minutes of the game inside that I love, but but stretched out. And like, why don't you walk around this area and explore it and shoot floating people out of the sky? I love that game. That's my favorite game of the year so far.
Favorite game of the year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's probably my favorite Remedy game. I think I've played all of them.
Of the year? Your favorite Remedy game of the year?
Yeah. It's probably my favorite Remedy game. I do like a lot of this, like the weird, like very brutalist architecture and very like
it's so cool.
selecting thing. Like my major issue, well, not major, but like my big issue with that game is like, I wish it were more. I wish kind of like the structure of that game matched its kind of like conceptual kind of strangeness, because it does feel like, hey, it's like a Metroidvania-esque shooter where you're going into
less
back and forth.
Metroid than I thought it would be for sure.
But like I wish that like just straight up when you backtrack into certain areas, I wish they'd be different, because like that's part of the appeal of the house, right? Is that like it reconfigures itself, but the areas you are in are pretty static, right?
Yeah.
So I wish that it was more like as a video game kind of weirder, but like as a solid like, hey, here's a really empowering shooter where you do a lot of stuff. I think it does pretty well by that. Some of the later encounters are maybe too hard, but whatever.
Yeah. Also great fonts. Just good fonts.
Yes, walking into a new area and it's like, bam, here's like this, like, I don't know if it's Helvetica, but like high impact white font where it's like, here is the containment room or like whatever.
Good font work lately in games with Modern Warfare. Like
it's actually similar.
It's interesting in the intro.
Letters,
they do kind of like a jump cut to a title card, which I think is actually really cool and effective. Yeah.
Hot fonts.
Did you
play Control at all, Jeff?
I haven't yet. Okay. No.
You want to borrow it?
I'll have to. I mean, I would assume it's on Game Pass.
I don't think so. It's
no,
not.
it's
505.
Epic. Epic still on PC.
All right. Well, I'll play it. I'll figure it out.
There we go. Astral Chain on Nintendo Switch. The Platinum joint.
I wish I'd played it. I haven't played it yet.
Oh, really?
It's like Fire Emblem, which is a million hours long, and Astral Chain are like the two games that I absolutely want to play by the end of the year.
Yes,
so.
I am maybe 4 hours into Astral Chain, and I feel horrific about launching this entire initiative, because it has taken so much time that I have not had time to play as many games as I want, because I'm like, oh my gosh, when I leave Game Informer, it's like I can sit back, play Astral Chain, have hot thoughts, hot takes.
Thoughts.
But it's like, oh no, I don't have time.
Wait
like,
to have hot thoughts about that.
I feel kind of bad too about like, the Deepest Dive on Outer Worlds, where I played through that game up until landing on Monarch before I knew it was going to be a game club, and like I was kind of just being a dick and killing people and not taking it too seriously, and then it's like, I'll go back and play it, and I didn't get a chance to do it before we recorded the game club, but now I'm going to go back and restart. Now I'm going to suddenly magically have time. But that's like a crazy thing of guilt, is like launching this video game thing, and then turns out launching a company, there's a lot of things to do other than play games. Okay. But I will play more in the future. I will finish Astral Chain by the time this year ends.
We'll talk about it someday.
Yeah.
So help us God.
It's in my Switch right now.
When we all move to a beach in Hawaii and we have infinite leisure time to do whatever we want.
Oh, maybe we could have a spin-off in every state.
Oh,
You think that'd be fun? So like
Traveling.
a Ha Max and Alaska Max.
Alaska Max.
That's such a bad name. Alaska Max anything. Gears 5.
Cyril and I played it together.
Oh, you streamed it, right?
Yeah.
So you could watch the entire stream. How was it?
I liked it overall.
Yeah.
I've never been a huge Gears guy. I was weirdly excited about 5. I walked away like, that was. I'm glad we took the time to play it.
It was
But
exactly what I
didn't
expected.
Make me a new fan or anything, really.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had fun with it. Like some of the open world areas, both open world areas feel kind of like sparse and kind of not necessary.
Yeah.
But the shooting was solid, and like the sections where you're kind of like just going through a corridor and shooting stuff like that stuff worked really well. I think a lot of those weapons are still like pretty creative, and like you have shotguns that you fire once when you push the trigger down and once when you let go, so you're kind of thinking about how you're using different weapons, so it's not like here's the M16 and here's the AR9 or whatever. Here's like the same assault rifle basically. Story is still kind of like all over the place.
Yeah.
There's a Hamilton sequence in it, which I think I sent to you, right?
I didn't watch it.
Well, you don't
I'm
have to
sorry.
watch it, but like basically there's a whole sequence where you go through a theater, and it's like the idea is there's the Gears universe version of Hamilton was being performed there before.
Right.
So it's like a historical figure on Sarah?
I guess.
Yeah,
I think so.
like the idea is that there's like one or two shootouts where like
What?
Hamilton-esque music
That
is
was my
playing,
reaction,
and
was
like the
Jeff's
stage
reaction.
props for like a Hamilton play are like kind of moving in and out of like the stage as cover and stuff.
And the
What in
stage
God's
has
name?
the circle like has the rotating
Oh,
stage,
really?
just like from Hamilton, and you actually do a fight there. Like you have to take cover on stage.
Yeah.
as
Do you
stage
fire
is
the
run-
bullets and then somebody grabs them and moves them across the stage slowly?
No, I don't think that
it's
happened.
not-
Is it
sure.
making?
You did walk backwards from each other and then shoot. No,
Then you take cover and then you pop up and shoot.
He goes, oh damn, I'm Hamilton.
Mark is like, something happened over there, but no one was in the room where it happened.
Well, that works. Is it one of your
fix
favorite
that, right?
moments of the year?
It was the most surprising moment of the year.
Oh, the most surprising
Well, okay,
moment of
hold
the
on.
year. I'd argue getting fired probably was your number one.
Within video
meta.
games. Within video games. I mean, honestly, like maybe because it just was so left field. There was a poster because I was playing with Siri. I was like, oh, that's funny. It's like the Hamilton poster. I get
Because there's
it.
a cutscene where they very clearly show you that poster,
Yeah.
and you're like, and you think that's going to be the extent of the reference.
Yeah.
But they even have like music playing that's like they're trying to emulate the soundtrack a little bit. They don't have anyone rapping on top of it or anything.
I would just like to be in that room when they were developing it and being like, let's triple down on Hamilton.
You know what Gears
We gotta
needs?
work Hamilton.
Hamilton
Right.
references.
Hang on. Jeff just said, I just want to be in that room where they come up with the ideas, and you don't double down on your joke?
Oh yeah, no one was in the room where
All
that
right,
happened.
thank you.
I don't know.
No one knows how the sausage gets made.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening. What's this? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's move up. Grindstone.
Oh, so yeah,
Apple Arcade real
the
quick.
best Apple Arcade game.
Yeah.
The reason I have paid another $5.
A little Puzzle and Dragons-y.
Yeah, a little. It's not a match 3, but it falls in that genre.
Yeah.
But it is one that I just keep returning to over and over.
Oh, good. It's so
Super
nice to
good.
have that type of puzzle game that there's no BS for, but there's still levels that people are really having a tough time with.
Yeah, it was a nice revelation of when I got that free month and I heard people talking about it and I played that because you kind of play it and you're like, all right, free to play. And I was sort of waiting for the shoe to drop and be like, okay, where is it going to try to charge me? And I was like, oh, no, it doesn't. There's no microtransactions. There's no, because that's the Apple Arcade thing, you know? So, yeah, that game's cool.
I unsubscribed from Apple Arcade, by the way. I like that game.
yeah.
I think it's a cool service, but at the same time, I was like,
I get it.
I don't play enough on my phone here.
That's the only one I'm, like, it's funny because I see the list and I'm like, well, these all look cool, but I'm just playing Grindstone. Like, it's just the effort of like, well, I don't want to go through the trouble of starting all these games, even though they sound cool, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Link's Awakening. Kyle, #1 Zelda fan, you wrote a book about Zelda.
Yeah.
It's called My Favorite Zelda. It's largely made out of
By
crayons.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Which I got to play since I got laid off from Game Informer. That bet went right out the window, right? So you can play Death Stranding now.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, everyone was like yelling at me when I streamed like the first hour. They're like,
okay.
you're playing this. You agreed with Hanson that you were going to play this.
You're cheating SOB.
But it's great. It's funny. It did cement to me that like there's some of the dungeons are not great. The second to last dungeon is
Eagle's Crest? Or
the
Eagle's
one where you
Nest?
have to move the cannonball around.
Yes, that's
I
Eagle's
don't
Nest.
like that dungeon at all.
I think it's creative structurally.
It's different.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's once you realize what the floors entail in that dungeon, I think those can get really
Also,
repetitive.
the overworld is just difficult to navigate.
It is.
and it's in a way that's not particularly fun. And I feel like I still like I really love the game. Love the way it looked. It was nice to get a classic Zelda, but I did have a lot of those moments where I was like, yeah, it's kind of hard to just go northeast in this game.
Even
isn't
with the
it?
the way to teleport, you can jump to those
Yeah.
different spots.
Yeah.
And that's, I hate to say it, Link's Awakening before Breath of the Wild was my favorite Zelda. I'm so nostalgic for that game because I played it on my friend's Game Boy so much, and I love the original game. I love the tone, and the story. That's what sticks with you. Playing Switch version, it's like I don't think I'm having that great of a time.
Really? Okay.
I need to keep going, but it is one of my biggest bummers of the year is just not having just a blast throughout that entire
It didn't
experience.
rekindle it the way you thought it would.
No,
I really liked
it. Rekindled some of the frustrations, and it's still. I love it. I love the art style. There's a lot that I love about it, but at the same time, it's just like the fact that I'm being annoyed by what I thought was one of my favorite games is not fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think a lot of it has to do to me with the idea that it just feels like, standard Zelda formula. Because even recent, especially recent Zeldas have felt very like they're all based around a different gimmick, right?
Whether it's motion controls or
And obviously the gimmick originally for this one was that it was on the Game Boy, but you just feel like this is the 2D Zelda game playing out because even Link to the Past had like the Dark World stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think it kind of proves like, hey, this formula is really solid on its own, but it's also a lot of the logic for some of the puzzles can get kind of vague and a little bit confusing, especially if you're trying to do it without hints. to where like sometimes you'll be like, I think that Al told me to go to this place, but you're actually supposed to start like. You're not supposed to go there yet. You're supposed to do a thing first before you can get over there.
Well, that's the thing. Like I ran into, where is like you call the guy on the phone, and he's like, "Yeah, head to the castle." And I go to the castle. I'm like, I don't know the path here. I just need you to tell me the path. I know I'm supposed to go to the castle, but I don't know which direction I need to go to get there.
So it's like the game kind of leads you along. I think in some like not so great ways, but I really liked it. I reviewed it for Fanbyte and I gave it an 8.5. So like I still really like. I like.
Which of the review score is poor?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It's out of 105 for whatever reason. No, it's out of 10. I still really enjoy that.
I think that's a totally
game.
fair score. But like I think that's about where I land on it too. It's like I love it the way it looks. It's great to play old school Zelda. There's still awesome game design here, but there's also it's hampered a little bit by being a port of a Game Boy game, and like they were restricted, and they're still restricted here. So.
Untitled Goose Game.
I went into that game expecting, like, I had low expectations for that game.
Yeah.
This will be a silly indie game.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's got a lot of like meme culture around it. But I ended up really liking it.
Oh, really?
And liking the ending in particular. Like the way the game sort of loops around on itself is and it's genuinely funny. And played it with my kid a lot, and it was like. I ended up really I liked it more than I thought it would.
Oh, nice.
Sure.
I definitely went into it thinking it was going to be more like a goat simulator type thing of just a little bit silly, and then it's like. Oh, it's basically just like a puzzle game, like a little puzzle adventure game here where you have to solve these very specific things.
Did you finish it?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I really, the ending is, there's like a nice ending to it, which I think is fun.
I super want to play that. That seems right up my alley.
Yeah,
what's the matter with you? Ooh, maybe stream next week.
Ooh.
If you support us at the $10 level. Everything known to man, I believe.
I don't know if it's on PS4 and Xbox.
Exactly.
Switch and PC.
Exactly my point.
So
the important platform.
So just PC.
It might be PS4, but not Xbox, I don't think.
Yeah, let's find out.
Did you play that one also?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it on my stream when I first started streaming, but like I enjoyed what I played of it, but I guess I never felt super compelled to come back to it just because I did that first area, and I feel like I got sort of the gist of it. I don't know if it like meaningfully builds on the idea of like you're just kind of like pestering people until you can stealth around.
I will say, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but like there's a weird reason for why you're pestering people.
Okay,
which
is well, there's kind of a fun finale to it that
jerks.
I like.
So it turns out, of course, it released on Mac, Windows, and Nintendo Switch.
All
as I refer to it,
demand.
Every platform known to man.
Kyle,
no PS4? That's
is
interesting.
it better than Donut Hole County or whatever? Donut County.
You just ate a donut hole. You got confused with what's in your stomach.
Kyle brought donuts. And...
I think I like it more than Donut County.
Okay,
but I did like Donut
because
County.
that was one where that also seemed right up my alley, and when I was playing, it was like, this is okay. Yeah. I ended up not liking that one as much as I thought. But a Goose. Like screwing with some old British guys.
Yeah. And the animation's super good, and it's just like it is fun to be a goose and like flapping your feathers and just having an old British man just like yell at you.
Mario Kart Tour.
The iOS game.
Hi.
I reviewed this one for IGN.com.
You guys are all over the place. This is fun.
It's that was a game, speaking of Apple Arcade being good because of microtransactions and stuff, that one is a game that the racing is solid and it looks good. But you are reminded often that it's like there are ways to spend money on this game. And it even has its own $5 a month subscription service.
Within Mario Kart Tour?
Yeah, and the rewards for signing up for it are like mediocre at best.
Can you have a decent time playing it for free, though?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can play a bunch of races, and the controls are good, and it's fun to fire off green shells and stuff. I'm still checking in on it every now and then.
Yeah. Look out for this one. Cyril Vasquez, Destiny 2 Shadowkeep.
Yeah.
Start the clock.
Been playing a lot of it.
How is it?
It's good. I think it's kind of the expected step back from Forsaken. So I feel like it is like Destiny 2 is kind of following that Destiny 1 life cycle where Destiny was at its best during Taken King. I think Destiny 2 will end up being best at Forsaken. Just because I think a lot of it has to do with like Forsaken was such a huge leap for Destiny in terms of improvements and getting that game back on track. And this just feels like further refinements in a lot of ways. But their shift towards the like more MMO-ish, where it's like, hey, every week we're gonna have something new. We're gonna dole out the story content a little bit in like more vague ways, but in a way that keeps you coming back playing. I think that means that the initial campaign I don't think is great. I think it's good. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like what Destiny is good at, the super strong imagery of like you're just running towards the moon, and there's like you'll just see like the shadow of like here's all these ghosts walking, like the very control, inside thing where they hear a bunch of floating bodies everywhere, and there's this like giant green pyramid ship in the background.
The art team is just out of this world.
Yeah.
So I should play this game, you're saying?
You should play like the first hour of it. Okay. But like that stuff, like the campaign very quickly devolves into like, okay, go out and kill 100 of these enemies and do all these other tasks and whatever. And the ending is kind of weird because it's supposed to lead into the raid. But I've been enjoying it. I like some of the improvements. I think finishers, which is kind of their big new thing, I don't think work as well as they should. Because they don't do anything by default. And so you have to, basically, if an enemy has like a glowing icon over their head when they're low health, you can just finish them off very quickly. But you're vulnerable during that attack, so it's not always worth it unless you have an item like there's an exotic that if you finish an enemy while you're wearing that exotic, you'll turn invisible and heal. And so like you have to build yourself in such a way that you can use that stuff. And they have what's called Armor 2.0 now, where every armor drop has like 6 random stats basically. And so you can, using random drops and kind of leveling up armor, you can build character like, oh, here's this armor set I'm using to have just a really low super cooldown. And you can further customize your character that way. And I like a lot of that stuff. But it does also make the game more of a time sink. So at this point, like I haven't had a ton of time since I played like 80 hours of it after launch, basically. But since then, I've been checking in. I've been trying to get through the raid. And I think that raid is good. I don't think it's my favorite raid by a long shot. Mm-hmm. I think it has some like really quirky mechanics that I don't want to get into, just in case people haven't done it. But overall, I like it. I don't think it's as good. It's like it could have been better. But you know, Destiny has become a game where it's like, down the road, it'll be better just because of their regular content updates.
You bet. Real quick, Little Town Hero from Game Freak.
Yeah, I've also reviewed that for GameSpot.
I was excited about this. Should I not be?
I don't think it's your kind of game.
I like RPGs. I like small RPGs.
The thing is that this is a game that wants you to think of it as a systems-heavy game where the systems aren't super heavy. So basically, it's Hearthstone in a lot of ways. It's like an RPG version of Hearthstone. So
the UI even looked like Hearthstone.
Yeah. So what you do is instead of having options like attack, defend, or like whatever, you basically have like a very small deck. Like it's literally 13 cards. And so every turn you have this randomized hand of like, okay, you can do this particular attack or this particular attack, and they'll have like attack and defense values. Yeah. And the enemy will show you like, I'm going to attack with this card, and it has like 3 attacks, 7 defense or something, and you have to figure out which card in your hand beats it, right? And so and you go until everyone's out of cards, and then one of you either loses or wins, basically that hand. And I think my big problem with it is that gets stale really quick because you only have that many cards. Like you have 14 cards and you're using the same exact cards over and over again in fights. Like one of the key mechanics is figuring out when to revive your deck, basically, to get all the cards back in your deck. And that was the most crucial decision I made in any match that I played. It was like, okay, when do I want to revive my deck? And the boss battles like implement this like board game structure where it's like every time you're moving and being in certain spots on the board will get you like, hey, I'm here, I can assist you, and they'll give you ideas like, like sometimes I like to be brave, and they like they'll add bravery into your hand.
Good idea, my lord.
Yeah, so it's like it's really done like, oh, punch it in the nose, and it's like the idea punch it in the nose will be in it'll be a super powerful card.
Would you recommend playing this thing if you're a fan of Game Freak?
I don't know, like I don't think so. I think you can safely skip it. It's the music is by Toby Fox, and I think you should go listen to the soundtrack on YouTube.
Yeah,
but
I listened to that soundtrack, by the way. I wasn't wowed by it. Do we need to go back to it? It doesn't seem
it's good. It's not his best work, but it's like there are some songs that I like in there for sure.
Okay,
would it be good for young players? Is it like too simple?
No, I think it's kind of too hard in a lot of ways. Okay. Because a lot of it, because you have such limited decks, like your room for error in a lot of ways is kind of very small. Where it's like, oh, I either need to do this, play this one. I need to have this card for this many turns to do this thing, or I'm gonna lose. So it can get pretty difficult. I want to say there's maybe an easy mode, but I don't know what it would change. And also like, towards the end, it just got completely easy because you upgrade your cards with like points that you get from battles. So eventually it's like, here I have this card that started off at like 3 attack, 5 defense. Now it's at like 7 attack, like 10 defense or something, and it's invulnerable the first turn that you activate it. Yeah. So it's like you just steamroll the last few bosses. But
Little Town Hero, everybody. By the way, when we're at Game Freak for the Game Informer cover story on Pokemon, they implied that it's not exclusive to Switch. that in the future it
see
could
it,
come to
yeah.
other platforms, which is interesting because Nintendo's been backing it in
I mean,
such a big way.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. I was going to say, it's not that surprising. I mean, a lot of their other games have been
Yeah,
non-Nintendo
but I think just because it's in the Direct and stuff, people assumed
Yeah,
that it
I would
is.
have, for sure. Yeah.
Let's see, but that is a
I
full
did.
Game Freak joint. Real quick, Kyle, Ring Fit Adventure. What a ditty.
Yeah, are you playing it actively?
So I checked out Game Informers a while ago,
Okay.
and played like up through the first boss and then a little bit beyond that.
Okay.
And I really was impressed by it.
I've gone a couple days now without playing it, but
I can
initially
tell.
I played. Oh, wait, hold on. No, bad. Not thank you. I played like 4 days in a row, and I like it. I like it more than Wii Fit for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's way more interesting, and also like it's genuinely hard. Like I was sore because I had the difficulty turned up kind of high.
Okay.
Because
Bragger.
Not a little bit of bragging here. Like I have started working out in the last couple months. Like I go to the gym a few times a week. I was riding my bike a couple miles.
Is this since you were fired?
I had started like a month or so before I was fired, and then I really went for it. after
So
I
it's
got
like
fired.
out of work out. That's your catchphrase?
Oh my god,
That is his
holy
catchphrase.
cow. But the to preface that, I just want to say like I'm slightly less out of shape than I have been in the last couple years, and this game is still like kicking my butt, and
Yeah.
like I'm sore, and it looks great. Apparently, Imran said that it was made in the Breath of the Wild engine,
I saw people talking about that.
which
yeah.
is like I don't have any evidence other than believing Imran and everything that he says.
But
as
it's
being
frustrating
true,
that
but-
Nintendo isn't more clear about this stuff. Even
Yeah.
like the music's really good. And it's like, who
Yes.
composed this?
Yeah, I can't figure it out.
Nintendo
but it looks,
in general.
like
yeah.
it looks good, and I
Yeah.
believe that it was done in the Breath of the Wild engine. And like it's also as you go, like it does get more interesting. Like now
The story?
not the story.
Okay.
But like I've unlocked like if I use this colored workout on this colored enemy, it does more damage, which is
okay.
just enough of a wrinkle to be like, oh, okay, I'm not just doing the same thing over and over.
Because it is alarming when it's like, all right, you're choosing your routine. It's like you got this physical squishy ring thing. It's like, all right, I'm going to do squats, do some damage. And then you start fighting this enemy, and it's like, oh, it's like the equivalent of doing 1 HP of damage
Yeah.
and just trying to slowly whittle down this giant health bar. It's like, all right, here we go.
But I do like. I think the way they sort of balance is you'll just be fighting more enemies as you go further. But I do feel like I'm getting a sense that I'm doing more damage because
Yeah.
you are leveling up. But
Right.
yeah, overall, I've been.
What do you make of
impressed
that?
with it.
What do you make of the block move where you like put it against your stomach and like squish it in? That doesn't feel exercisey. That's the
guess
only
you
one where it's
gotta-
like, I don't know what I'm doing
You gotta
here.
like flex your abs. I think like it's on you, man. You got to.
Oh,
do
really?
It. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I want to keep playing it. It's weird. I also, do you know how it works? And when you're like, when you squeeze it in,
Yeah.
it's really consistent. Like the motion controls are really good.
Yeah.
Is it just looking for motion on the right Joy-Con, or is there a mechanic inside the ring that? Because
I don't know.
I tried a couple times to like flex it and trying to make the Joy-Con stay completely still.
Yeah.
and it still registers.
I think there is some electronics, and there has to be, because you can put it in standby mode and then do that.
Oh yeah,
like
you can have it off and like do exercises.
yeah. So
with
the
it while
fact
you're
that it's
watching TV.
still doing that means there's some logic going on in there.
or something.
I would
don't know.
imagine, because the Joy-Con is just like it's the slider thing. So
Yeah.
I think it's magic.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe that it's made in the Breath of the Wild engine. I believe it's magic.
Miyamoto casts a spell on each one as it goes down the assembly line.
Oh, I'm a legendary figure in Japan now, whatever that award was.
God, did you think he had anything to do with that game? Just like realistically, what's Miyamoto doing these days?
I don't know. I haven't seen his abs to figure out for sure.
Good point. Good point.
You know what time it is, everybody?
You missed the game, Hanson.
149.
Yes, which
I'm
one?
sorry. Borderlands 3.
Oh, you're right. Have you ever
That's a
played
big
Borderlands
one.
3?
I have.
Oh.
You wrote the cover story for Borderlands 2.
I did.
Yeah.
Long time ago. And I'm sorry that I don't have a better opinion about Borderlands 3.
Then,
It feels more like more Borderlands.
and
That's okay.
A-okay.
That's okay. I wish
okay.
I wish it had done more things. I feel like I don't know if it was when we did the Battleborn cover story
Yeah.
or something, but I feel like we've had conversations with Gearbox where they were hesitant about Borderlands 3 and
Yes.
they were like, it has to be something big. Like we have to do
If you
something
go back,
crazy.
there's a video on Game Informer's YouTube channel, which is like, why create a new IP like Battleborn instead of Borderlands 3? And that is just the leadership at Gearbox talking about, Randy Pitchford said, Borderlands 3 would have to be so big, frankly, it scared us. Which at the time, it's like, oh, they're planning a Destiny style thing. And then it turns out, no, not so much. And then over the natural recourse is it evolved over time. They realized, hey, we actually have to ship this. It'd be nice to get out in 2019.
Yeah.
Battleborn has frightened us, and it'd be nice to get out something that is beloved. And it seems like
Little more
Borderlands 3 has found
dependable.
its community. People are happy with it by and large.
Yeah, and I feel like that has been kind of. I feel like I've been on the outside of the opinion of Borderlands for a little while now with Tales of Borderlands.
Yeah.
Even with the pre-sequel, I think people were more into it, especially, like Jeff Ackervick and Margaret.
The production department at Game
They were the
Informer.
ones I'd hear from whenever I put up something that was a little lukewarm on Borderlands.
Yeah.
So I know that there is a huge community out there that still likes those games, but I was really interested in like traveling to the different worlds in Borderlands 3. I thought that would be cool, and it would more just kind of been like, well, these just kind of feel like more zones that, they could have been on Pandora. The art style's a little different, but the Borderlands art style is kind of so overpowering that it kind of takes over any kind of uniqueness to these different supposed worlds. And so it's just kind of been... I've enjoyed it. There are still things about inventory management and stuff like that where it's like, wow, I'm spending a lot of time looking at these different kinds of guns and trying to figure out like, well, is there something behind these stats that would make it better to keep on playing with this gun, or, should I just junk it and sell it with all the other ones and that kind of stuff. So I wished I was liking it more and I had more of a interesting take than more Borderlands.
That's totally you had a hot thought.
I wish I had a hot
all
thoughty.
hot thoughts are welcome here, and all lukewarm thoughts are welcome here. But hey, you know what time it is right now?
Call of Duty Mobile?
Call of Duty. No, it's time to make the show better. Let's go.
Oh.
And welcome back to the MinnMax show. Let's see, we're now joined by Suriel Vasquez.
I'm back.
Jeff Margiafava.
Hey.
And Kyle Hilliard.
Why are you like reintroducing us?
I don't know. What are you all doing here?
Okay, hold on. Let me clap out for like someone else.
So we had a bunch of great submissions that people left on the Patreon page, patreon.com/MinnMax. If you support us on any level, we make a post, what's going to be hopefully every Tuesday. And then people can leave a comment, and I was like, I don't know how many people are going to do this relative to sending in emails in the past, but judging from this first one, holy Lord, it was amazing. And a lot of people left comments or questions, words of wisdom, everything there that was so granular and specific. It's like, that's a really good question, and it's great content for what we're calling MinnFacts. Min FAQs, which is our stream every Monday, where it's going to be for $20 backers, and just kind of explaining some very nitty-gritty things about what's happening at MinnMax, what we expect from that week, stuff like that. And so granular questions, that's great for that. And just to be clear, so that's a live stream every Monday with backers, where we also watch a YouTube video together. It's kind of a viewing party / Q&A. Then the plan, which the $20 backers are cool with, and I think it's a good idea, is just for the sake of sharing that information, we'll share the Q&A section the next day for audio feed backers. So that will be in the audio feed for those folks. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
Great. Something very odd going through all these comments on our Patreon page. No cities. A couple people left city names. So that makes big board stuff difficult. I wasn't planning on bringing over the big board, and so
did you stress that they should leave their
no, I didn't.
city and stuff?
I don't.
Maybe
That's
something they'll catch up on.
I almost feel fine leaving it behind.
I like knowing where it's coming from. I think it's interesting.
Okay.
So if you want to leave it, I think you can. Right?
Okay,
But
sure.
it's
I
not
assume
no
every single one is
requirement.
from Minneapolis, right? We made that clear that this is only for Minnesotans, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No. Let's see. What do we do? Just jump in?
Yeah.
All right. Cody Hester says, hello, Ben, and the no longer remaining a GI. Hello. Can I be on the first episode? Not in person or anything like that, just with this question. Yeah. Congratulations,
Hey,
Cody.
Turns
There
out you did it.
Turns out that we're making this show for you. This is community-minded.
Thank you for
So
your
there you go,
donation.
Cody.
Yeah. So for I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. Long time, first time. We're gonna have like a lot of short time, first times.
lot of
It
first
really
time,
made me
first
laugh. Somebody, I didn't pull their question. I'm very sorry, but they said, "Hey, I've been listening since the beginning of MinnMax, and my question is."
That's great.
Christian Peterson says, "I know we don't want to dwell on the past here. Correct. We want to move forward, but I'd love to know what y'all will miss the most about Game Informer."
I don't like seeing your notes. I gotta turn away from them.
Yeah.
This is weird not having. I just have a laptop here now.
Yeah.
I don't have the pages and pages of physical notes. I loved writing on that, so I'll have to type on the laptop
It's
every
funny,
once in a while.
I don't know why I could read your paper. I just never did.
Yeah.
But this, it's like a little easier to read, I guess. But your note there is certainly interesting.
What's
I
his
mean,
note
I'm
say?
assuming
What's
that's
his
your
note say?
privacy
You can't
filters.
hide it.
Yeah, Serial can't see. I think you can see, Jeff.
Okay. What did I write, Kyle?
Sounds of doors is the thing that Hanson misses.
Sounds of doors.
Which is especially weird for you because there's like 90 doors in this house.
I'm going to try something real quick.
It's a very
Keep talking.
door-heavy thing. So here's
Was
the
it
thing.
was it the beep and then the crack of the vault opening?
No. Oh, can people hear that door? Great content.
Does that bring you back?
Oh my god,
nostalgic
it's
for
like
you?
a
I'm sure the
door.
neighbors love it too.
I'm amazed that door's still standing. My friend Rory hung it. Officially, his name is Dory, I believe, at this point.
Did you find Dory?
It turns out hanging a door is hard.
Yeah.
Obviously, number one, what we'll miss is joking around with people in the bullpen office
Yeah.
and our friends back at Game Informer. But we'll see him at Extra Life this
I
weekend.
mean,
and
to be
stuff.
serious, it is just hanging out with everybody. You know, like just hearing Cork's random comments, Reiner doing his laps around the office and stuff like that. It's just like being around everybody and like bouncing off ideas off of one another and stuff. And
Yeah.
like I miss that dearly. I really miss that a lot.
Yeah,
you know, for
more
sure.
than health insurance.
Well, my beautiful, supportive, lovely
There we
wife,
go.
Ashley, who's
There
been
we
great
go.
through
There
all of
we
this.
go.
And I want to call out because she's been really
Uh-huh.
supportive and like pushing MinnMax and being helpful. I think she said she's going to listen, which she never listened to a single episode of the Game Informer show. She has health insurance, so I'm covered there.
Wow, look at that. It all works out.
So she's supporting me in so many ways.
Can we talk about these doors?
Yes.
Get to the doors.
Do you all have this where in your place of work you become attached to the sounds in the office, the sounds of simple things like doors, opening the vault door, the studio door, the third floor door, like all those doors? I have a weird attachment to the sensors. Or like when I think of old places I used to work, it's like, man, you were so connected to that. You heard that sound multiple times a day, and then that specific timbre of the door, gone forever. I'm standing for doors, damn it.
I feel like I've developed more of an attachment to the sound of people walking up those spiral staircase.
That too. I think just
Oh.
sounds. The
Yeah.
soundscape of an office, I guess, is a larger
I mean,
picture thing.
it's
what I'm
like the
talking
simple
about here.
psychology of like where I'm hearing them like escalate right as they're coming closer. It's like ooh, like you're right. Even though if it's just like it's Leo for the umpteenth time because it's like he's ferrying stuff to the studio.
Uh-huh.
It's always like it could be anybody.
Right,
or
right,
Cork
right.
going down those stairs, which he would do as loud as possible on
fast.
purpose. Yes.
Yeah,
He
for
would
sure.
stomp down them.
Yes,
It's going to
absolutely.
collapse one of these days, right?
I don't know.
Maybe.
The stairs?
But we
Yeah.
miss out everyone.
I am going to miss travel.
Oh, interesting.
That was one of my favorite things because like when I lived in Nebraska, I was a homebody. I didn't leave the state much, and I only started traveling around like 2016 was the year I started traveling more often. So like, and I think even in terms of media jobs, I feel like because of stuff like cover stories, I think we traveled more than most outlets even.
Oh, yeah.
So like the fact that I went to Japan 3 times in 3 years is
Amazing.
like. To me, like amazing, and I went to Gamescom once in L.A. and California a lot, but yeah, I like a good trip. I'm not at the point in my life where it's like, traveling like I have to leave so much stuff behind. I can just go on a trip whenever. So, yeah.
You know what you'll have to do now, Serial?
What do I
You'll have to take a trip inside your mind, man. Travel
true.
with your heart and soul, man.
LSD.
I hate that I have to go to.
By
to
that
Delta,
we mean
though.
take
Like,
LSD on
it's
air.
just like
Don't
I have
worry,
to go to
we
the
put it in your
airport.
water.
Jeff, anything?
Yeah, you already said it. Just
Doors?
I miss everyone. Yes, I miss all those doors. I miss Cork the most.
I hope.
Oh,
I
interesting.
think that's not a huge revelation, And we should say that like we really cleaned out that back corner. It was like us 4 and
Oh,
then
yeah.
Cork.
Yeah,
Cork's
believe
the
it or
only
not,
one
I
who's
worked
missing.
in there for 2 months after the last. I noticed how empty it was
Yeah.
back there.
Just Leo and Dan and Cork back there now, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Cork, in the way he was on
And
the podcast.
Reeves. And
Oh yeah, Reeves. And in the way that Cork is on the podcast, where he'll just kind of jump in and say the funniest thing you've ever heard all like in your life, and then not speak
As
for a little
Tim
while.
Turry said, he's not a Gatling gun. He's a sniper.
No, yeah, and it's like I miss those sniper shots a couple
Yes.
times a day. So Cork, if you're listening, just shoot us a group text of the funny thing that you came up with, and that'll be great.
Yeah.
And we just read
That
them
is
all off here.
that is what I love having about you guys as like a core is just also just the sounding board of just like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Like that. On a very practical level, it would help out so much in the Game Informer office. Jeff, I feel like I would ask you at least once a day, like, hey, what is this? Like, what did I just ask you guys earlier today, even about like, when I write this thing. Is it farther down the road or further down the road? Or like just those little English things, and it's so nice to be surrounded by writers in particular. By the way, have you read the Patreon posts? I've been writing all those. I keep thinking, there's probably a bunch
I
of
need
them.
to talk about your comma splices at some point.
I saw
the last one was rough.
There was one instance, I think it might be in the intro, which I forgot to say. In MinnMax, you didn't capitalize the second M.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Actually, I noticed
branding.
that too in a couple places. Is that consistent?
Yes.
Camel case for the MinnMax?
See, these words are helpful to be around.
I'll look them up later.
Yeah. Let's see.
Thank you for dimming your screen so I can't see it as well. Is that what you did?
I need to get one of those things so you can't read about
I will
Shadowkeep
be-
Tomb Raider.
Listeners can't see this, but he's actually put up a piece of cardboard between him and Kyle. So
You know, in
that he can-
elementary school, and you would put up the folders.
Yeah.
Ooh.
When you
I haven't
test it,
thought
so no
about
one
that
else
in a
can peek
while.
on.
Yeah.
I haven't tested
man.
for
I'm going to
Wow.
actively not read it though. So
Okay.
do my best.
Mark Polly. Along came Mark Polly. Says, "Hey, is it wrong that my big Kyle? I hate you. Stop it. Why did I let you join this show?"
Why did I invite you?
Mark Polly says, "Is it wrong that my biggest recurring thought with the MinnMax show creation is that maybe I can start getting my emails read on the pod? Hey, back us on Patreon. Let's see how it goes, buddy." My real
They're
feedback.
Patreon comments now, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
My real feedback is lots of audio content, please. I don't get much time to sit at a computer YouTube these days, but I'll listen to you guys during my commute all week if possible. The sweet spot would be 7 hours of audio per week.
Okay.
How have we done?
Well, wait.
I mean,
Actually,
We're probably not too far off.
2.5 for the game club, right?
Yeah.
And then what do we
Whatever
have now?
this is.
probably 2 hours.
We might hit it. There's going to be a bonus video/audio thing towards the end of the week, which
And
should
then
be fun.
you can listen to the Twitch stream.
Technically.
I guess so. We don't put the audio in that feed, but
Okay.
I do want to emphasize that. Yeah, if you're a $5 supporter on Patreon, that you get an exclusive audio feed. You can plug in your favorite podcast app, and we put a lot of audio in there. It's a little bit like the old Giant Bomb dump truck. So I want to put some funky, weird stuff in there too. Just little adventures.
Cool. ASMR stuff.
ASMR stuff.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in. Adam Loftus says, "So now that you're in your mom's basement working full time, do you think you can finally shatter the stereotype of gamers being sad men living in their parents' basement?" It's not my
Hey,
parents'
it's our basement.
That's right. It's my
Hanson's.
neighbor's basement. Respect them. Two Button Crew says, "How cold is your basement?" Our favorite game show. Cereal, the answer is
It's cold. I put my hoodie back on after I took
hoodie
it
cold.
Hoodie cold.
What do you think is
Hoodie
genuinely the
degrees.
temperature in here? 53 degrees?
Yeah.
Maybe
55.
60.
High 40.
High 40s.
It's 33
off. I think he's Googling the
outside.
temperature in this room right now. Is that where you're going?
You had a heater on, which I appreciated when we
I did
got
bring
here.
a heater down,
Yes.
but
So
for
that's
sound
very
reasons, we had
Yeah,
to shut
I think it
off.
was in Discord or on YouTube. Someone was commenting like, "Yeah, you open a door, make sure you guys can get all the hot air equipment out of there." And I was like, I don't think we're worried about that yet.
I mean, we
it's
do
not-
have this fire back here too, but
Chestnuts roasting. Yeah, the site's called MinnMax, for Christ's sake. Like,
We're
making
min-maxing
this
it.
thing being an ice box is part of the thrill, right?
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It feels optional to me, but
Huh?
sure.
How's that? Justin Dale says, "Oh, I like that Minnesota's a big part of your identity." I don't know. And any chance of a brewery meetup or anything like that? Yes, we want to do community
Count on
meetups in the near future. We need to find a location first, and all this needs to wait until after Extra Life. A lot of MinnMax specialty content. I'm sorry, but I'm basically working 2 full-time jobs at this point,
Yeah.
trying to get ready for Extra Life, so it needs to wait till after that. I'm very sorry, but yes, we'll be doing that.
which
Also,
hey, kudos to Hanson. Can we just
Kudos?
say that kudos, cuddles and kudos.
yeah.
No,
Cuddle him,
seriously.
come on. You're the closest. But it just is super
You'd like
cool
it.
that you continue to go back and help them get Extra Life through this
Yes,
year.
Leo has the toughest role of all. He has a lot on his plate this week, but yes, thank you. I think you'd have to be a monster to not do that.
Yeah.
To be like, well, I don't know what this is going to be like. I don't know if somebody else can line everything up, because I've been lining it up the last several years at Game Informer, and to be like, raise tens of thousands of dollars for charity. Nah, like that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I love doing it.
Can you imagine someone starting Extra Life and really being all about it, and then leaving Game Informer to let someone else take care of it? Who would do that?
Yeah, that you're a monster.
It's a Tim Turry joke.
Technically, Jason Astraker
Oh,
got
Jason
Extra Life
Astraker.
first. Any chance MinnMax will be doing live reactions of events like Nintendo Directs, press conferences? Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people ask that, and then it's funny because they're like, we know it's cheap and dumb, but are you going to do that fun thing where you react to stuff? It's like, yeah, I think that's super fun. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Are we saying we're going to like live stream those as they're happening?
Yeah, I want to. I mean,
Sweet.
I want to. We'll see how it lines up.
Honestly, that was my favorite part of, like, I was on a every other year for E3 kind of thing, and part of that is I don't like traveling as much as Serial does, and going to LA specifically.
More travel for me.
Yes, but the I really liked being on the home team because we got to sit in on all those press conferences and live stream them, and we did the disastrous Netflix one that wasn't an actual press conference. But it was just super fun, and that's so.
Yeah,
this is the first time I'm hearing that we're doing that, but I'm super excited about it.
I get the caveat though, because when you hear reaction, I think the sort of go-to is like, oh, new Pokemon, whoa, like run, but that's not. We're not going to do that unless we're really excited, unless it's like
unless they do make a new Pokemon.
Wait, did you hear something? Do you know something?
It's got
we're talking about a new Pokemon here. Grizzled Gaming says, I feel like the demand is there for it. Kyle,
I'm not. I can't see.
So can you please have Kyle yell out 6 stunts now? Of course, we legally don't own 6 stunts, but you were allowed to yell the phrase 6 stunts if you really want to, Kyle.
You want a nice clean take.
So, well, just to avoid legal issues, like Kyle, what would you call like a sort of trick that when you look at it, the kids would say like a kind of colloquialism to indicate that was like a really fun or cool trick that they just pulled off.
And from what I understand, like you're having some hearing issues today, so you can't hear me very
So
well, right?
I know I'm on the other side of the table, so it's like I would appreciate you speaking up. Yeah.
But also I'm having some issues with the compressor on the mixers, so let's be cool.
Yeah.
6 stunts.
Thank you.
Let's look at the.
Thank you for answering
that
my
didn't
question.
spike too much. That's fine, right?
The viewership? That did spike, actually. We have live numbers.
I was thinking of maybe an ill tricks.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Let's not go there.
Hilga3 says, regular phone calls to Leo's mom, please. Yeah, that's the plan. We don't have Leo, but we do have his mom as part of it. That would be so funny.
And we're not giving her back unless he answers our ransom.
Oh, this is good.
We are in a basement. The first time I came over here, this looked like a kill room.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you didn't have, all the drapes and stuff. It was just plastic.
I was about
floor
to
to
say,
ceiling,
putting the
plastic
blankets
tarps.
up on the wall to protect the walls really removed the murderer's basement look.
So Leo, if you want to talk to your mom, make sure to donate to a Patreon, and we'll send her your questions.
special
$5 tier.
$1,000 tier.
If you want to know if you've been invited
your
to
mom
Thanksgiving
back.
dinner, write in and let us know, and we'll forward it to your mom, and then she'll let you know.
We should point out, I don't even know if you guys know this, but if you want to hear more phone calls from parents, hopefully with very embarrassing stories, and you like donating to charity, you should tune in to Extra Life November 2nd. It's going to be super fun. Jeffin, would you let us do that with your parents?
I don't know what. I honestly don't know if they have any stories.
Of course they do. You know how many times babies poop all over the place and stuff?
Daily.
Daily?
All right.
That true? Direful says, hello, fellows. I'm so proud to see you guys on your own. Thank you. In the big, wide world. Wait a minute. I was promised this was a small, containable, understandable world. I've been wondering, what are your perspectives on traditional journalism now that you're in the, quote, new media space?
I honestly didn't think about that until we saw this question. I didn't consider us new media, but I think, like, I've always been a fan of old media, I guess, like newspapers and magazines and stuff. And I was
Cave
always
drawings.
Yeah, I was always kind of like, yay, pro-establishment and having a good authority out there deciding these kind of things.
Yeah.
But I think turns out if those establishments are owned by bigger establishments, they can make some bad choices sometimes.
Right.
And I think my biggest takeaway of the new media thing is kind of the way that we're funding this and doing it directly for
It's amazing.
the fans who, like, I don't think there are a lot of nefarious, groups and organizations out there, but I think it comes down to people who get it or people who don't get
Yes.
what you're making. And like this way we have a guarantee that the people who are getting this content get it,
Yeah.
And so
they get it on multiple levels.
yes. And that's the cool part to me.
Yeah, it is a weird feeling. Like, I always at Game Informer, not, because of any ethical reasons or anything like that, but every once in a while when somebody would refer to me as a journalist or something, it's like, maybe because I didn't go to journalism school or something, I always felt weird. It's like, I like enthusiast press as a framing personally, where it's just like, I'm just doing this and asking questions that I genuinely want to know about and covering my favorite medium, video games, and I feel like not much has changed in that framing since I left.
Sure. I mean, enthusiast to me also implies that like you like video games. You're also happy to talk about when you don't like video games too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like enthusiast press does not necessarily always imply like
Always
being,
enthusiastic press.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I guess to some degree, because I did this freelance for a while before I was at Game Informer, I feel like to some degree I still consider myself a journalist.
Okay.
Because insofar as I have ethical concerns for a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to take a sponsorship deal from Nintendo and then freelance review a game for them. Right.
course.
We're
Right,
still
yeah,
in that position. Like even at Game Informer, I chose not to do the Mortal Kombat 11 review because I'd done the cover story.
Right.
Because that felt like a little bit where it's like like just having the question, right? Like, am I too close to this project? Have I seen too much of it at this point? So I still feel like I do want to hold myself to those concerns to some degree.
Yeah.
Here at MinnMax, especially since I am doing outside work as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I when I see people like at WAPO like reporting on things going on in the news and it's like, hey, we had embedded sources. Like I don't have sources. I'm more of a critic, I think, in my sense, than I am like a traditional journalist. I'm not breaking news. I'm not leaking things.
Right.
But I do still. I am a fan of that ethical line of like what are you saying versus what are you receiving from companies.
There's a weird moment too, just for a little full behind the curtain here. That's the point, right? Is I had somebody from the industry contact me and they're like, oh, so how does this work? Is it like pay to play? Like we'll just pay you and then you'll play the games that we want you to play? I was like, not exactly. If you want to supply codes or something, we'll consider it for coverage. So in that way, it's like it feels very similar in my mind, and maybe I'm naive for thinking that.
Yeah.
It's not quite in that influencer realm in my mind. It's just independent media, I guess.
I think we're all on the whether we call ourselves journalists or whatever. Like honesty is the important part to us, and transparency. I think even more than ever. Not that we were hiding anything before, but it's like now we can directly communicate everything that we're doing with our fans.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a weird thing too with the $400 supporter slot on the podcast. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's wide open, like we have it, so it's like, okay, we'll filter it a little bit if someone just writes the N-word 400 times. Like, we're not going to read that on air as a
400 400 is our limit.
We think it gets offensive after that. But it's a weird thing, too, where it's like, okay, if a company wants to support us there, and then we talk about those games on the podcast, it's like, as long as I can be honest with the community and like, I'm not going to let that change my opinion, and I'm going to say what I think about the game. If the company that is supporting us to the tier doesn't like it and wants to pull their 400, fine with me.
Yeah.
I'd rather just lean towards the community in all those aspects. Like, they can come, they can go, whatever. We'll let that drive the ship, right?
And at the same time, it's not going to stop us from talking about these things. I feel like the line is being transparent, you know? Like, so if someone does sponsor us and then we're going to talk about a game, just letting people know, hey, like, they supported us before, whatever. You can take that into consideration when you're listening to what we're saying, but we're always going to be honest.
For sure. Let's see. Colin Perkins writes in and says, in spite of Surreal, in the spirit of Surreal's idea to get... I'm sorry, my screen's too dimmed because of peeper eyes over here.
I'm not going to read it, man. You're fine.
Jeez.
Turn it up.
In the spirit of Surreal's idea to get to know... I'm actually low on battery. In the spirit of Surreal's idea to get to know the MinnMaxers in episode 0, here's a few rapid-fire icebreakers for the panel. We can't call it that. Here's a few quick questions, icebreakers for the panel to answer.
Quick shooting questions.
Yes. Let's see. Go around the table. Glass half full or half empty?
Half full.
Full.
Absolutely half full, yeah.
There's 50 milliliters in there out of 100.
Oh, very full, Kyle Hilliard. What's the best current gen first party controller? PS4, I guess.
Xbox One.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably go with the Xbox One.
Xbox One.
I think I just play so much more with the PS4 than I'm so much used to.
It's a very good. They did a very good job compared to previous generations.
They did a good job.
Special. I like the Switch Pro controller too.
Okay.
Yeah. Put a headphone jack in it.
Did you do the ice bucket challenge? No, I did not.
No.
In the studio, are we doing a constant ice bucket challenge in a way with the temperature in here?
I think everyone in Minnesota then is doing the ice bucket challenge all season long.
Favorite fast food restaurant?
Wendy's. Do you want to go in order? By the way?
Yeah. So what's the definition of
Order?
Fast food.
Fast food,
Could I
yeah.
include Chipotle?
Is
that fast
Chipotle,
casual?
it's owned by
so.
McDonald's. It's a fast food restaurant. You can get your food in under 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Chipotle
that
was my
changed
choice too,
answer.
so that's what I'm going
See,
with.
I
Actually-
wouldn't consider Chipotle fast food personally. Just
Okay, I
because
would-
it's better.
Because it's more
Is that-
expensive, I think.
If I'm
It's like my
including
tier.
fast casual, I will go Leanne Chin.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right, you're allowed.
I don't know about your expensive thing because
No.
going to McDonald's and try and get out of there under $7,
Yeah.
for a burrito.
All right, I'm changing my answer to Raising Cane's.
Wow, very specific.
Is that fast food?
What?
But I mean, that's like a sit down.
No, it's not. They have drive-through. You can get a bunch of chicken strips and a lemonade for under $10 and get on
You're
out
gonna
of there.
eat that in your car while you're driving away.
Oh, I have on many occasions. Get
I
the
don't
Raising
know.
Cane sauce going too. It's a very dangerous.
Guys,
dangerous
let's shut it
situation.
down. We can't answer
her
this.
down.
This was the
well,
question.
I wanna
that
hear
broke us
cereal.
apart. I think Five Guys
Oh,
or
That's
or
good. That's very
maybe
good.
That's not fast
Dairy
food.
Queen, but that'd be the second. But I don't know.
This is all over the place.
This is confusing.
Would you
Is this
rather?
Is this our big question?
Would
What
you-
is fast food?
What would you rather be incredibly strong or be a shapeshifter? Shapeshifter.
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 Then you could just shift into someone who's strong.
But
right?
you would just look like the strong
Oh,
person. When you
okay,
did,
okay.
you know,
I guess it would be.
So they're talking about like picking up trains and hurling
Yeah.
them at people and stuff.
which everybody
just don't
agrees would
have
be
it
the
all-
most fun thing a human being could do is pick up a train and hurl it.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean,
exactly
that would
where my
come in
mind
handy
goes.
like if you're moving or something. But I
guess.
feel like
Your
shapeshifting-
trains?
But
Shapeshifter.
wait, because
Yeah.
you could shapeshift into a celebrity and probably convince
people to give you
or the
money.
president of U-Haul and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Kyle, go get me that."
I think if it was between shapeshifting and flight, I think that would be a more difficult answer. But yeah, shapeshifting.
You could
seems-
shapeshift into a airplane.
Oh, geez.
We didn't
okay.
say what shapes we're shifting into, right?
You're right.
Kyle,
You're right.
DC or Marvel?
DC.
I guess Marvel.
Marvel.
Okay.
I'm a Batman boy. What can I say?
Okay, Kyle. What kind of boy
You're
are you
gonna
here?
go. Sorry, no, not that rapid. You're gonna go with just one guy versus all of Marvel.
Yeah, for sure.
You
love
like Batman that much?
I love Batman that much.
What'd you effing marry
That's how I
him, dude?
feel. I don't know what.
All right, Kyle.
Is it because your mom's name is also Martha?
And she was murdered by the Joker.
Her name does begin with M.A., so that joke almost would been even better.
All right, Kyle.
Could your mom change her name to?
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Ooh. I was a truck boy. Me and my
Yeah,
brother watched a lot of Star
exactly.
Trek, but I've fallen off of Star Trek pretty hard. Haven't kept up at all.
Is
But I'm excited
anybody-
about Star Wars. Yeah, but your roommate, my brother, is still into Star Trek and watches.
Yeah, I know. But is anybody at this table a Star Trek or a Star
anybody
Wars
in this?
person?
Oh.
You know, after hearing what he just said, that's actually an interesting. I would have said Star Trek for a long time, but then once they started making new Star Wars movies, it kind of feels like it's really opened things up. I know they have the new Star Trek show on CBS
Picard.
Access or whatever.
I'm
It's
excited
called
about
actually
Picard.
CBS. Barely anybody has access.
Yeah. Yeah, because I haven't seen any of that, so maybe that's
Yeah.
good or not.
Supposed to
But
be good.
There's
I
like
don't know.
14 Star Trek shows on
maybe
there
I'm
now.
Star Wars now
Okay, yeah.
again.
Probably Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about either. But
Is anybody here inverted?
Yeah, me.
Really? I
guy.
shifted in 2010. I made the
Yeah,
grand
just
swap.
just do it. You can
know.
rewire your brain.
It's a lot of work.
It's not a
actually
lot
less
of work.
work.
It doesn't take that much work.
Yeah. James Scherer says, "Hey, when you guys are playing games, do you min-max?" I had a funny
No.
moment where the other day, well, not the other day, like weeks before I launched or whatever, when I came up with that name, my friend Rory, Mr. Dory himself, he's
Found
like,
Dory?
he's like, why are
Rory
you
O'Dory?
calling it like the way you play games is the opposite of min-maxing? Like, I know.
So to be clear, min-maxing, because I've always been a little fuzzy on this, it means
Oh,
like
really?
basically, like if you're playing an RPG or something, is like basically putting all the stats in the
being
right
as
area.
efficient as possible.
efficient as
minimum
possible.
input, maximum output.
So like you
basically.
just put nothing in luck if you don't want luck, and you put everything in punching if you're a big
It
puncher.
is how Dantak plays every game.
Okay, I am definitely not a min-maxer, like for sure. I spread those points.
I do it
like
where
a
I can.
wildfire.
Do it where you can.
I like a little optimization, but I'm not as extreme as
Right.
attack.
Well, we need somebody here to be extreme about this.
Like I said, I do where I can. I was very conscious of my where I put stats in like Dark Souls and stuff. So.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, this
And-
you oh, go ahead.
We are Minnesotaing to the max, right? So
Funny,
that,
when I
that
said the name to
salvages it.
Reiner for the first time, he goes, "Oh, as in Minnesota to the max," and I was like, "No, that sounds horrible. Never say that."
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about it the other day, and it is short for Minnesota Maximum, right? Which is just like a weird thing to say. Minnesota
He's
Maximum.
got you
I don't know.
legally.
Somebody
Legally.
hang on. Somebody had a great tweet the other day where, if you've seen that, where it's like, if you actually say the full name for the new iPhone. Hang on.
What is it? iPhone
11,
X11 Pro?
XLR.
Hang on. Yeah, XLR cable, iPhone 11. So it's iPhone Pro Max, I think. So it was like
Pro Max?
Internet Telephone 11 Professional Maximum.
Oh, like if you okay.
Yeah.
Minnesota Maximum. Okay.
Please never say that. William Koenig says, which gamer games made you fall in love with gaming?
Gamer games.
What does gamer games mean?
Well, I mean, just
What?
games,
Which
right?
games /
Game
games?
or games.
I always say I've always loved games, played a lot of games, but it wasn't until I played Ocarina of Time that I
Yeah.
was like, oh, video games are art. Like
Right.
that's where I was like, oh, I want to think about this like critically, and I wouldn't be writing about games or talking about games on a podcast if I hadn't played and fell in love with Ocarina.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 is a huge one for me, but I think probably like the first like bazunga hit was Oregon Trail, probably on Apple II. Just like
Okay. That
going
makes
from
me-
0 to that, then it's like, what is this? There's a whole adventure to be had here.
That makes me feel a little better
Yeah.
after Ocarina of Time
Well,
and
Kyle's
Final Fantasy
22 years
7
old.
because yes, mine was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. You
Yeah, I
know,
don't-
that
not
was like
familiar.
the first.
That's a great answer, but like for me, it was just like an obstacle to me. It was like a fun obstacle to overcome. Can I jump over that ledge? Where Ocarina of Time, I got emotionally invested. Was kind of how how it worked for me.
I was emotionally invested in
No,
that damn
I
dog
knew
who
you
was
then.
laughing at me.
I guess for me, it was less about like, oh man, this is such a great art form. But like with Mega Man X, I remember playing that in like the bottom floor of our house because it was just like completely empty for whatever reason.
I thought you were gonna say filled with spikes.
Yeah, it filled with spikes, and then I died, and so
Then you related to Mega Man
in order
X.
to come back to life, I had to devote myself to video games. No, but I was playing it like past the control side with a bunch of my friends, and then like my mom came down and she's like, "What do you guys do? Why don't you go outside?" And then that's like when I responded like, "No, this is what I want to do with my free time. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to
No,
go play
Mom.
soccer.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out and interact. I want to do this video game thing."
Mega Man Soccer might make an exception for. Do you guys? Do you think anybody else would confess to this? Where I just played NES games at like my aunt and uncle's house, and it was like the dual cart, right? Where it's Duck Hunt and Mario Brothers. I like Duck Hunt more. Am I nutso?
Yeah.
Jeffem?
I can see that.
If you're just like visiting, you're not like in it for the long haul. Like in terms of like instant gratification as a dumb kid, Duck Hunt. Absolutely.
And I mean, especially when I was a kid 100 years ago, you know, like that technology was insane.
Yes.
That you would point a gun at your TV
Yeah.
and it's
that was back when guns were fun.
Yeah. Yes. But it was just very weird, and it was the kind of thing that anyone could come in and pick up. I'm sure they sold so many more NESs because of Duck Hunt than
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers, because everyone's dad came in and was like, I can shoot ducks in this game? Like,
Right.
okay, I'm on board with video games now, you know?
Versus, what's
Or at
this
least-
dumb Italian doing? I
Yeah.
hate video games again.
Stepping on turtles. How dare you?
Mark Paris says, do you gents think it was kind of genius that Outer Worlds was released on PS4 and will be on Switch later? Now, since the game has reviewed very well and is great word of mouth, I imagine more people might consider getting the next Xbox system where the sequel will be exclusive. I know I'm more interested now. I do think that's interesting. I even saw, I think there was a Resetera thread or something where they were talking about like, I like Outer Worlds, but I feel bad getting invested into this world as a PlayStation person because I know that now I'm just going to be teased with the sequel. But it is an amazing piece of marketing to invest people as you're going to the next generation so that 2 or 3 years from now when Outer Worlds 2 comes out on Xbox, it's like, there you go.
Well,
Try this franchise for free, and then now
Exactly.
you're gonna have to, yeah.
I mean, but that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if it was on PS4, just the way Microsoft is moving.
I would
you
be
know?
surprised because we talked to, oh my gosh, what is his name? Matt
Mr.
Booty.
Outer Worlds? Oh.
Matt Booty from Microsoft, the head of Xbox Studios or VP of Xbox Studios, I
Yeah.
guess it was. I think his title was shifting. It was always confusing. But on the Game Informer show, when I interviewed him, I asked about Outer Worlds and if he sees it as one of those franchises that could be released on other platforms. And he said, no, I think that's one that we want to make like a Microsoft exclusive and really blow that out in a big way. So
Yeah, that feels like the kind of, like having a sci-fi RPG is the kind of thing where Microsoft would step in and say, yeah, no, let's keep this for ourselves, as
Yeah.
opposed to like the Minecraft where it's like, put that, it already
Sure.
is on everything, but
And of
let's
course,
keep
Banjo
milking that.
Racing on Game Boy Advance is the
Yeah.
other
The
example
two
that we all
seminal,
go
yeah.
to.
Yep.
But I don't know, maybe you can stream Outer Worlds 2 to your Switch from your Xbox account or something.
Myth, time that comes out, that could be. Yeah. Travis Lehman says, love you guys
Aw.
and glad you had this chance to start your show. We only have this chance because you guys and gals gave it a chance. Do you think Bethesda's recent behavior irreparably tarnishes their reputation? Oh, okay, here we go.
Wait, what? Start over?
Do you think Bethesda's recent behavior irreparably tarnishes their reputation? I love Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, and Fallout 4 so much. Those are some of my favorite games. I hope that whenever Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 come out, they can get back on track. Yeah, recently, it was last week, right before the launch of Outer Worlds, I think it was the same day as the review embargo lifted.
The nads on those guys.
They had the subscription servers for Fallout 76.
It was very generous of them to do that for Outer Worlds.
I know, just one last big boost out the door.
What a way to create just the largest dichotomy between like the thing that that game is in opposition against in a lot of ways in players' minds, and like here's the pure product and here's the corrupted like corporate like entity that is totally like destroying the healthy thing that is cool. But like it was very funny to see how like I guess the game does mark you as like, hey, this guy walked around, he's a Fallout 1 subscriber, and now they've created like a caste system where everyone immediately hunts down Fallout 1 subscribers in the servers.
That's fun, right?
There was a guy I think on the Reddit who was talking about like, oh yeah, I just walked around and there were like this roving band of like 7 people who just found me and beat the crap out of me.
Said Outer Worlds and they ran away.
So it's been very funny to see the reactions to that.
Oh my god,
that's something you would pay for, that experience, right?
Well, honestly, my initial reaction was kind of like going off what we were talking about earlier, like with like Kotaku and stuff. It's like, this is not something you have to engage with, right? Like, if you don't want to do it, you don't pay for it, right? Which that was my initial reaction. Is like, I think everyone's getting sort of overblown about this. It's this option that you can take advantage of. But that story kind of changes my perception of it. The fact that it's like you get marked in the world, and like people are going after them. It's like it weirdly, whether on purpose or not, like it is becoming this thing that players are engaging in within Fallout 76, which is strange.
I just had this weird realization because I was making the auction bundles, which is about the most fun thing you could do on planet Earth at Game Informer, where it's just like, here's hundreds of old T-shirts, here's a bunch of gaming merch and just rare stuff. What goes with what? It's just because it's just like a guessing game where it's like, okay, Virtua Fighter 2 T-shirt. Oh, the Yu Suzuki bundle. Like, we'll retheme that Dreamcast stuff into the Yu Suzuki bundle. And one of them was like, here's a launch Fallout 3 T-shirt and a Fallout 3 lunchbox. And there's a part of me where it's like, that's a shame nobody will want this. Like, just to have that read. And I had the similar read making a Bioware bundle. I'm like, I guess there's a Bioware bundle. It's just so sad that the beloved companies are now to a point of like, hopefully people will donate something for this Fallout 3 shirt when it should have been like cream of the crop.
I think it would, though, be easy to underestimate how many diehard Bethesda fans there still are out there, and no matter how much of a critic you are of Fallout 76, when the new Elder Scrolls comes out, as long as they don't screw it up in this kind of way, and Starfield, if those are more classic Bethesda experiences, like I think a lot of people are going right back on board with
and
that.
They're probably so early in the development that the reception towards 76 has helped steer them a little bit, right?
Especially holy crap, 6. let's go
steer
back
them
to
into creating a $100 a year subscription service. For
that's
that
right.
game.
Yeah, but that's also a little bit like Kotaku in that situation, right? Where it's like, okay, the money makers, the business folks might have different intentions, and it might be in a situation where it's like, hey, ZeniMax needs some cashola. Oh wait, our name's kind of like ZeniMax. Isn't that fun?
You mean Zenny, like from Dragon Ball? Is that what we're talking about?
No, it's ZeniMax.
ZeniMax.
The company that owns Bethesda.
I lost the thread. Okay, let's move on.
Go back to sleep, guys.
Yeah. Honk shoo. Chris Whitfield says, I'm sure you guys have spent a great deal of time staring at loading screens, and I was wondering whether you have any favorites. For instance, I personally enjoyed being able to manipulate in-game models while loading in Skyrim. Boo! No. And more recently, I've been finding myself unnaturally enamored by the single loading animation and jingle of the Nintendo Switch eShop.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Very good. I think back to like Namco games in particular, because they had that weird patent on interactive loading screens.
They ruined loading screens for everyone else.
Right. But specifically, the Budokai, the Dragon Ball Budokai fighting games, the loading screen is there. And I remember Budokai 3 in particular, it had it so if you rotated the 2 analog sticks in opposite directions, the faster you went, more Cybermen from Dragon Ball grew out of the ground on the screen. So
weird.
Every loading screen is like trying to spin my thumbs as fast as possible. It's very fun.
Okami and Devil May Cry, I think both have interactive loading screens.
Oh, yeah?
Where you can hit the triangle button to like attack the now loading icon.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
God, I had one. The Wolfenstein Youngblood, I think those loading screens are good. They're not interactive, but it's like anytime you're in an elevator, you'll just see like the two twins kind of like from the like security camera angle, and they'll just do these fun bits, like they'll be dancing to like whatever 80s song is, or like one of them will like slap the other one kind of once or twice, and then they like end up in a slap fight.
That's fun.
Those are really cool.
Yeah. BW says, I always thought Magic the Gathering was too nerdy for me, but when I joined a friendly sealed tournament at work, I realized games be games.
Games be games. We should have.
I should have been.
We should have called this whole thing games.
I
Games.
literally, on the Battlefield 3 cover story trip, this was very specific, the sound designer over there, Stefan Strangard, I believe his name was, I remember at some point, his answer to some question in like the Swedish accent was, hey, games is games. And I loved it so much, I looked up that URL, it was taken.
Games is games.
Anyways, now I'm hooked, and I wish I would have started playing sooner. Any of you have any experience playing Magic?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, long time ago.
How long?
When it first came out, when it was cool.
How old are you?
I'm 70 years old.
Shut up. Seriously, are you comfortable
I
saying that?
am almost 38.
Almost 38.
Yes.
Write it down, folks.
Did you know this before you invited him?
Yeah, what the hell? This is for young,
I
hip
blew it.
gamers.
Yeah.
Do you like Magic?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of kind of deck builders and customizable card games, collectible card games, and stuff like that out. That I think that kind of formula of I'm going to try and figure out how to make a deck that's going to beat someone who knows way more about Magic the Gathering than me doesn't appeal to me anymore. But I liked it back in the day. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Could you beat Serial?
Absolutely not.
Oh, I didn't play that much Magic. I played it insofar as like they were trying to introduce me to another game called Versus System, which is like the Marvel DC kind of like superhero take on it. But they didn't have. I guess they didn't have enough decks for that. So it's like, okay, that game plays like this. So it's like we played around in Magic, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I kind of get it. Where you had like, hey, I'm gonna tap this, and then it's gonna be like that's its ability. But yeah, I found it more interesting. But it's like I don't know that I'm super into like this Lord of the Rings like fantasy stuff. But like comic book stuff, that's for cool people.
Naturally, everybody knows that.
Yeah, it was like kind of like the jumping off point because I played some Yu-Gi-Oh, and they were trying to get me into like more in-depth card games. Because, like I said, Yu-Gi-Oh is for babies now. So yeah, that was kind of like my jumping off point. But I enjoyed it. Like I've played a lot of games that are inspired by Magic in a lot of ways. So
Yeah. We were at that Pokemon World Championship, remember, in DC, and I played a little bit of the Pokemon trading card game back in the day. But realistically, it's like I was in 6th or 7th grade, so I was just like, I don't know, the bigger number wins. Let's just keep playing with and collecting these Pokemon cards. But actually,
you made up your own version of the game that was much simpler. It's like mine has 120 HP. Charizard wins every time.
100%. That's the way my nephews play now, right? But they actually had a training station to play the trading card game for Pokemon, and I had such a good time doing that. Like there was a part of me where I was like, what if I get into the trading card game? It'd be super fun.
There are some other games now like Star Realms and Ascension that are kind of they're more about having a center row of cards that you can pull out and build up your deck. I mean, they're deck builders as opposed to collectible card games that are a little more my speed, and it's less about trying to annihilate your opponents, all the cards that they put out and stuff like that. So that's a little more my speed. But yeah, those are all it's interesting concepts and stuff that kind of fit outside of video games, but kind of touch some of the same buttons and kind of things like that.
I'm interested in trying Keyforge as well, like the kind of set deck thing. Brandon Armelli says, okay, simple question. When playing a first-person shooter on console, do you prefer crouch on circle/B or melee on circle/B?
Crouch on circle.
Yeah, I'm a crouch guy.
Melee's X. Because it's Halo where it's the opposite, right?
So melee is the B button on Halo, but I always swapped left trigger and B, so grenades would be on B button. And,
you dirty dog.
Left trigger would be melee.
I guess at this point I'm used to pushing in right control stick as melee.
Yeah, that's good too. I like that setup too.
Yeah, and to add to that, I'm on keyboard and mouse, I'm a C to crouch, not control.
Okay.
Control
All
the couches for crazy people.
Yeah, relax. Travis Morgan says, first off, love everything that's been going on so far. Thank you so much. As for our question, knowing you're reasonably big Star Wars fans, except for Kyle here, Mr. Stranger.
I like Star Wars.
And with
the
so
whole
much
conversation was that
I know.
picked
I
Star
know.
Wars.
Let him get to the
Relax.
question,
Don't
Kyle.
take the bait.
Why are you so mad?
And with so much on the horizon, which of the big upcoming projects are y'all most excited for? Whether it be the films, Disney stuff, Jedi Fallen Order, there's just too many good things going on. Yeah, it's interesting. I was at my friend Grant's house the other day, and we watched the latest or all of, I forget, Rise of the Skywalker trailers, and then watched the Mandalorian trailer, and like the consensus of the room was, oh yeah, Mandalorian looks way better than Rise of Skywalker. It's like, I don't know if I necessarily feel that way. I still think there's going to be that impact of like seeing some shortcuts, even though they spent $1 gazillion on Mandalorian, of just people expecting film quality for everything, and then a little bit like, okay, we're reusing these sets, blah, 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 blah. I hope or expect to see some budget in that. Rise of Skywalker I'm very excited about. Mostly just, I don't know about mostly, but just as a screenwriting challenge, I think that's about as tall of an order as even like an Endgame, or Infinity War situation. Like that is so challenging. And so I want to see how they pull it off. But also I'm really curious about the future and Rian Johnson. I like Last Jedi. I'm not a huge supporter, a huge defender, hater, anything like that. But I'm just very curious about where they take the films in the future. I think that might be what I'm looking forward to the most, just figuring out what their vision for the future and a more sustainable version of Star Wars is moving forward.
Yeah. And I feel like I shortly got burned out. Like when the Han Solo movie came out, I didn't even see it in theaters.
That's crazy.
And even it came on Netflix, and it still took my wife and I like 3 weeks to get to.
Wow.
And because I just had no interest in it. But then when we watched it, it was like, oh yeah, that was actually fun.
I like that movie. Yeah.
I think that movie gets a bad rap. I think
Yeah.
Solo.
Yeah.
I like Solo more than Rogue One.
I absolutely do too.
Yeah.
And it's so, I think because it was seen as a box office failure, it still made like $1 gazillion, right?
Yeah, lots of good games fail.
Yeah, but because I think there's that box office stigma attached to it, people see it as a worse movie than Rogue One.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't get that. I think Rogue One might be cooler, but in terms of like minute-to-minute enjoyment and fun, like, and even the storyline, I was so much more invested in Solo than Rogue One overall.
Yeah. I mean, not to dive deep into it, but I mean, I think Rogue One is an awesome, like, conceptual idea, and then it's like the execution is like fine. Where Solo, I feel like they did a good job of like, oh yeah, hanging out with these characters that I like.
Yeah. And that soundtrack
Woody
is no
Harrelson's
joke.
there.
Hey, big old Woody. Did you like his WTF episode? Did you listen to that one?
I did. It was underwhelming. He seemed closed off a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. But where's Fallen Order for you? Fallen Order's really high for me.
Okay, still below Rise of Skywalker though, right?
Well, yeah, Rise of Skywalker #1, but like Fallen Order for me is like a close 2.
Yeah.
And then Mandalorian, I'm like, the thing that I'm most excited about it is Taika Waititi being involved more than anything
He directed
else.
one of the episodes?
Yeah,
right?
I think he's in it too. Like that's more exciting to me than any of the trailers or anything I've seen. So
Right.
like that's one that's like when the feedback comes through, if people are raving about it, I'll be excited to watch it. But if people are down on it, I'm not gonna feel like I'm gonna be totally fine avoiding it if it's
Mandalorian, really?
Yeah.
Even if the feedback is like, Rotten Tomatoes, let's say these episodes are getting like in the 60s, like I think we're all pot committed. I feel like I'm going to watch every one. How do you guys feel about that?
You don't subscribe to anything though. How are you going to watch
I know,
it?
I'm going to steal your password for this
so
too.
I have to subscribe
That's
to
right.
this? Okay.
I hope that's okay. Well, I assume you will because you're a kid or whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
I seriously haven't heard anything about Mandalorian.
That's
and I don't
amazing.
know what it is. So,
Really?
yes.
Oh, wow.
You know Boba Fett?
Yeah.
It's like that, but a show.
Okay.
But it's not Boba Fett.
Is it for kids?
They
No,
track the
it's a live
trajectory.
action.
I want to say
Okay.
the storyline tracks the trajectory. So it starts as like, I don't know if it's an origin story for Boba Fett.
What? No, it's after Return of the Jedi. It's just dealing
Okay.
with the Mandalorians and basically bounty hunting in the universe after the Empire falls.
Right.
Okay.
And at some point we get to Boba Tea.
And it's made by cool people.
And here's like just to show you an image, like that's kind of.
Spoilers, Kyle.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to see it.
But it looks like if I said, hey, that's from the new Star Wars movie, you'd probably
Yeah.
believe me, right?
Yeah, okay.
And I have bad news, Cyril. The Game of Thrones boys are no longer making their Star Wars movie.
My two favorite things are no longer colliding.
The
Two things
internet.
that I'm heavily invested in and absolutely know what they're about.
It is. That has snowballed in a way where it's like, I understand people being disappointed in the Game of Thrones final season, but to the level of hate where it's like,
It's frustrating, honestly.
I can't keep track of how much I should hate these guys.
Well, it was weird because like that was in the wake of like they had this thread from a panel that they did where they were
Yes.
like, I don't know, we just kind of slapped the whole thing together.
But to be fair, that was somebody like
pilot.
live tweeting the panel
Yeah. And they were
talking
that was
about
in the
the
most
pilot.
negative take.
Sure,
Yes.
but like it's hard not to conflate those two things of like these people are no longer on the Star Wars thing.
Yes.
Also, like here's this thread that kind of like is totally like messing on them out.
The thing that kind of frustrates me about all of it is like I feel like people have forgotten that there was 6 years of like what many people consider to be their favorite television show,
Yes.
period.
Absolutely.
And then it's like, I feel like everyone has turned on them unfairly. I understand disappointment with the finale, but to just totally wipe out all of their body of work because of those last few episodes, I think is unfair.
It's also like it's hard to know how much of this is from it, but like it definitely feels like people are just taking that stuff and not understanding the full context. Because like how many of your favorite shows are also made in a similar way, and you just don't know about it. Versus this is like, oh yeah, it's kind of slapped that street. Because I feel like I hear that a lot about shows. It's just like, you know, on one level it is the biggest thing possible. It's like as much money, but also like the people making it are kind of figuring it out as they go. Like that happens with so many shows that people love.
And you shouldn't punish them for that transparency.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the people behind Breaking Bad have said that.
Yeah.
That they did,
100%.
Like they were making it up like week to week. It turns out that that's what television shows are. It's a made-up story.
But like because it's tied in so neatly with the idea of like, the people are looking for reasons why Game of Thrones failed or whatever.
Right.
That the fact that this tied in so neatly, it's like, see, this is why we're mad. It was very easy to sort of throw them under the bus for that. Which isn't to say like I ended up skipping seasons like 5 through 7, and then because like I happened to be visiting my friends when Game of Thrones season 8 was happening, and so it's like I guess I'll watch it with you guys because you guys are going to be here for the next hour and a half. I may as well sit in with you.
Yeah.
But like like it's not my favorite thing, but I kind of sympathize with them to some degree of like, yeah, you guys are gonna getting beat up a little bit. But
I think so.
And it's that kind of hate and cynicism of the internet that we want to be a refuge for, right? Am I right?
Yes, all Game of Thrones defenders, please come on by. And if you also were disappointed in the final season, please support us on Patreon.
We'll have 2 separate podcasts, one for people who like The Last Jedi, one for people who didn't like The Last
exactly.
Jedi.
I
We'll
think-
support you both.
I'm sure
somehow.
there's a Discord channel for both at this point. Richard Tweedy says, hey, y'all, I recently finished Minute and really enjoyed it. Partially because it wasn't any longer than it needed to be. With the recent release of the most recent Jackbox, it occurred to me that a similar collection of bite-sized single-player games could be neat. Do you think that would be a good idea?
Yes, I do. And Derek Yu is working on
UFO 50.
UFO 50, yes. And that's one I emailed that guy like about 5 times over the years being like, hey, just want to check in on how that's going. And
Because who is Derek Yu?
he created Spelunky, which is one of my favorite indie games.
Yeah.
And so, and just the idea of putting together a collection of retro-inspired, NES era games from a bunch of different indie designers, and they're kind of tackling a bunch of crazy ideas and stuff. That sounded super interesting to me. A lot of it's going to be multiplayer too, like local multiplayer, so it's not completely in line with this question, but I do just like that idea of making smaller single player or multiplayer experiences and bundling them together.
It's still what I want more than anything from a studio like a Naughty Dog or a BioWare is just a game jam package of just here's a bunch of 30-minute games.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. I think even a game that I remember you looked at Game Informer and reviews were not kind, but I think is cool is that Devolver bootleg thing. Devolver released basically this bootleg game on Steam that had versions of all the other games. So it's like, they had a game called Enter the Gun Dungeon and Hotline Milwaukee. Also a name we tried to register for Ape Out Jr., stuff like that. Like, I love that idea of just like, we're just going to make parodies of our own games, but just shorter, weirdo things.
Yeah.
Who looked at that? Were you looking at me when you said I looked at that?
Yeah, I remember you looking at it at Game Informer. And you held your nose. And
or
stinky.
maybe I looked at a trailer or something.
Yeah.
maybe.
Also, I mean, to defend Jeff, I mean that game was announced and released like during E3 on a year that I think you were there. So.
Oh, sure.
So you're an insane person.
Okay.
How dare you?
Let's see. 2. That's not true, Kyle. But anyways, 2 Button Crew writes in and says, "Hey, with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate released in December of last year, after the Game of the Year nominations, do you think it'll be considered for any Game of the Year awards this time around?" The fact that I had to Google this to remember when that game came
December
out
5th.
is not a good sign.
Yeah, I don't think it will be.
But all that means is for the Game Awards, right?
I don't think it'll be considered for Game Awards.
I think it will. Last year it wasn't.
Oh, 'cause
I think it will be.
Game Awards
is there
offset.
precedent for that? Where like have they considered
Yes.
games from December?
I
of last
do
year?
believe. I do
Yeah,
believe because
I
I
think you're
remember every
right.
once in a while it's
It's
like,
not
wait,
gonna
what is
win.
that doing here? For best fighting game?
Maybe. I think Mortal Kombat will win that, but
Really?
We'll see. I think it's because it is a combination. I think if it had come out like let's say in February, I think it has a pretty good shot. But I think there will be people who are like either towing the line one way or the other. It's like that doesn't qualify, like right?
No,
And I think
I guess it is just from the panel of peers, right? Like you get mailed
there's
that
like
thing.
some user voting in some categories, but I think a lot of critics are going to look at it and say like that doesn't count.
Yeah,
That sucks.
I think Smash Bros. Will win, and Ed Boon will present the award. And like as he's presenting the award, he'll announce Mortal Kombat 12.
A year later, huh?
Very smart. Do you guys think there's a universe where Smash Ultimate wins Game of the Year at the Keeleys? I would argue
No.
Smash Ultimate is better than any game that has come out this year.
What about?
Well, I would disagree, but yeah. I mean,
It
is there a
won't.
universe? I don't know. I don't know about universe theory or multiverse, but
Jeff?
I don't think it. Will.
Probably not.
It's too, as much as I like Smash Brothers Ultimate, it's like it is the best version of like a very familiar game to me. You know what I mean? Like I'm playing it like even the year that it came out when we were discussing it in Game of the Year stuff. It was like, well, yeah, I mean it's that shoulder shrug thing, which isn't fair, but it's like, yeah, they nailed it. It's Smash Brothers. It's just like everything from the past, like all dropped into this bucket.
They're
like
all
it's,
here.
It's not very exciting, but it's like it's super well done. you
Yeah,
know?
it's one of those things that like I think a lot of niche or enthusiast titles kind of are stuck with. Like every time I play a Forza game, it's like, oh, these are some of the most immaculate games ever made. But it's like, you know, they're just doing the thing they've been doing, but they just keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not gonna, blow anyone away in terms of how, like this isn't like one of those like prestige games where it's like, oh, it's like the narrative of Forza is so good, but it's like the feel they've slowly perfected. It's like it's a reason that I don't think a fighting game will win Game of the Year, like unless it's like some mind blowing new endeavor in a lot of ways.
Of course. Nick Brewer says, so I have a running list of all games I've beaten, categorized by consoles from oldest to newest, and PC. I tried to convince a friend of mine to dig deep and remember all the games he had beaten to make his own list when he took issue with how my own list was made. If I played a game and beat it on multiple consoles, be it simple re-releases or remasters, I count it separately on my list as another game that I've beaten. I also count some games that don't really have ends as being beaten, such as seeing the credits at the Town Tree in Animal Crossing New Leaf, or prestiging in a multiplayer-only shooter. He thinks that both of these are technicalities and shouldn't be counted. Obviously, it's subjective. Incorrect. But I'm curious what your opinions are and what you would or wouldn't count as beating a game for your tracking.
I think for anything single player, I think seeing credits is a pretty good. I know that some games like they'll have things where they have a third act or something, some sort of hidden thing. But I think credits is a fair way to say like, hey, I finished this game.
Okay, what about prestiging and multiplayer only?
I mean, insofar as like I finished it, like in whatever period of time you feel like you've played, like you don't finish a lot of games like that anyway.
Also, I think, in the year 2019, it's time to let go that idea of finishing the game, I think, and just do what I do, keep track of every game you start, that you experience.
Yeah.
That's more important, isn't it?
I think experience as the driving factor is probably the best way. If you have gotten to a point where you feel like you have solidified your feelings on that game, then congratulations, put it on your list.
Slap it on the list.
Do you guys all have lists like that?
No,
I have
don't.
a list of
I have a
everything I
list.
play, but like my problem is that like I try to finish everything I play.
Oh, wow,
So
really?
I don't think I have a lot of games on my list that I haven't finished, but my list is also probably smaller than most of yours.
I have
Interesting.
I have that list that I've been keeping up with since like 2007.
Yeah.
And I when I wrote it up first in 2007, I went back and I was like, okay, which Super Nintendo games have I beaten? And I'm pretty like happy with it. I think I've been pretty consistent with it. And I do treat credits as the point where I put it.
So you track completion, do you track starting?
No.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I only track starting, but yeah, I've been keeping track of everything since 2012 of every game I've played.
I think I started
Here's 2019's list so for Kyle only to see. But it's a lot, man.
Yeah.
But
I think
if
it
you
started
count
in
finished,
2009.
2009. Bryce Volrath, congratulations on the name. Jeff, and this is very important for you. If you were on a revenge journey to defeat the man who killed your father, this is because your father was recently murdered.
Right.
If you're on a revenge journey to defeat the man who killed your father and you could only practice your martial art in an abandoned parking lot or park, when asking for time off from your part-time gig, do you let them know about the revenge or play it cool?
I play it cool.
You play it cool.
Yeah.
You just keep asking for more time off.
Yeah. Tell him afterwards, you know.
that you just murdered
Hey,
this man.
this is the reason I was gone so often, Hanson.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember now because that's Shenmue, right? So like I'm trying to remember if.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't even get that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, but I don't remember if there was ever a point in that game where you go to your supervisor at the forklift company and say, hey, I got to take the day off to go train because you train in parking lots and stuff.
Oh,
like, as you're
fun.
walking around.
Listen, boss, I gotta go kick ass.
Brandon Walker says, back when the fledgling Battle Royale genre started, it took me a while to find what I liked. PUBG was too hardcore for me. I just spent 20 minutes looting only to get randomly sniped. I tried Fortnite, but hated the building. Then a game from Hi-Res Studios came out, Realm Royale. And he really loved it. I liked Realm Royale too. That was fun. Yeah. I love how the downstate in the game is that you turn into a chicken and then run around frantically to survive. When the game launched, it quickly got up to 100,000 players and it was great. After several not well-received changes from the devs, the game has fallen off to about 2,500 to 3,000 players a day. Which brings me to my question. Have you guys ever had a game that you really enjoyed that the player base or just your friends quit playing that ended up making you miss the good old days?
I think this I went through that entire cycle over the course of like a week with Artifact.
Oh, of
Game
course,
that I
yeah.
was super into.
But there's
before-
still, it's not like you can't find people to play with, but just
Dude,
the concept.
no, it's like 200 people.
I know, but that's still, you can still play with
like,
somebody.
You queue for that game and you are playing the same person like multiple times in a row. Like even
And
if
that's
you
a problem?
Kinda, yeah, because at some point, like in that game, like a thing that I wished you could do in a lot of card games is like pick decks, because there are certain decks that it's like, okay, the way I built my deck, I'm just gonna get mauled by this one, and unless you're playing draft, like it can be hard to maintain interest in a game where you're playing the same few people, and those people are like the people who have been playing for as long as the game has been out. So
That's
it's like
the problem,
at this point,
yeah.
if I wanted to go back into Artifact, I'm completely screwed because I have to go buy every card, which at this point wouldn't be that expensive, and I have to figure out, okay, what's the best possible deck to put together.
Right.
So and because you are playing that small pool of people, you don't see as many surprises, and so the game doesn't feel as lively. So
Right.
it's disappointing when that happens for sure.
Yeah, and it sucks. Like, I love Ensemble's Age of Mythology, and you could see the original player pool online for that game, and you could just see it dwindle with each passing year for that game's release. And then it launched on Steam, and it's like, hot damn, new fresh blood, and then you also just see it drop so fast. And so I've had like multiple chances to watch my friends die. Yeah.
I think the one that I tracked was Evolve. Just because that was one, and I totally understand the problems with it. I really enjoyed it when
You
it
gave it
came out.
8.5, I think, didn't you?
I did, yeah, and I had a lot of fun with it. I didn't play it as long as I thought I would also, because it is very dependent on having people playing it with you that you enjoy playing those kind of games with. But that was one that it was painful to watch, of like, there is a core there that is interesting and fun, and they could have grown it. They're talented enough that they could have added stuff and tweaked it in ways to make it
Well, they tried,
continue.
and they went free to play, remember?
Yeah, but it just, a lot of people hated that game.
Yeah.
And it was one of those that caught a lot of flack early, and that's not necessarily why it didn't work, but it was one of those to watch of like, oh, man, I wish this was doing better.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
And that was so frustrating too, because I think the internet remembers, and I certainly remember how glowing all the press was before that game came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally get it, because when we visited the studio, and I think when other people played the game, preview events, when you're playing in the same room and there's just 5 people all playing that game, it is so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to communicate that efficiently, but it's just that practical thing of like, okay, I have to get 4 of my friends in the same room for a LAN party, or just hopefully rope them into the online playing all at the same time. It's too hard to line up.
And playing with random people wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, you know, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, you don't want to do it again and again and again. Like, it gets tiring super fast.
Yeah, for sure. Nejin writes in and says, hey, MinnMaximilians. How do you feel about that? Not crazy about it. We would like a name for the community.
They were talking about that in the Discord.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. Is there anything good?
I don't know.
Miners.
Not great. Not great.
Minimum maximums.
No. I was thinking like, because the way we're abbreviating is MNX, and I saw somebody say minx, and I was like, that's kind of fun.
Minxes.
Yeah.
You little minxes.
Yeah, they're all little minx.
Our little minxes.
What are little monsters?
They can figure it out. They can figure it out.
We got Lady Gaga on the
themselves.
show to make it official.
You tell us, everybody. Nejin says, hey, Maximilians, this is the first year since 2009 that EA hasn't released a competitor to Call of Duty in the same fall release window. Is it safe to assume it was supposed to be Battlefront 3, but it was canceled due to Battlefront 2's controversy? Would that mean Fallen Order is probably pushed up to flesh out EA's release schedule? Those are a lot of assumptions. I don't think that's the case.
I don't think they're pushing anything up.
No,
and
they probably had it lined up where it's like, okay, Fallen Order can go in this gap, so why release a Battlefront 3 the same window as that? Yeah. But, I mean, we all assume there's going to be Battlefront 3, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I can see it as like one of those early offerings for next gen, like get people in while there aren't that many other titles to play.
I mean, they'll probably pull Battle for Neighborville, as everybody's talking about. It's weird that no one's talking about the Plants vs. Zombies game, right?
I mean, they should have just called it 3, right? It's essentially Garden Warfare 3.
It is,
right?
yeah. But I think they'll probably pull a similar thing, right? Well, they'll call it like, because the Battlefront name probably is too tarnished at this point. Even Battlefront, maybe, forget the 3. So just call it Star Wars Ground War.
Yeah.
Star Wars Gunfight.
Yeah, that thing that we all remember. What's Battlefield doing at this point? They're still doing like DLC and stuff.
They're still trying to get Battle Royale
expansions.
No, they got that. Battlefield 5, it's alive, but they're working on the next gen big Battlefield. That'll be exciting.
Mirror's Edge 3.
Yeah. Isaac Fox says EA just announced a partnership with Valve to put more EA games onto Steam.
Well, partnerships just amounts to we're going to put our games on Steam.
We're going to make money over here.
I don't
now.
think Valve is putting too much work into that. Besides, we have the better storefront, dude.
How do you think this will affect some of the player counts for multiplayer titles like Titanfall 2?
It'll raise it
that'll help.
20%. I don't know.
No, I think it'll help on PC.
I don't think it'll be like a huge hit. You know what I mean?
I think it'll be decent.
Do you think so?
I think so. Imagine like Titanfall 2 for sale on Steam, which it probably will be
Apex
out of the gate.
Steam?
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, Apex on Steam.
That's interesting. I think, Apex is probably still doing all right, but especially Battlefield 5, that game was struggling so much out of the gate.
Are
that'll
they
be awesome.
doing this just so Epic will try and offer them a sweet deal to get them onto the game store?
That'd be fun.
Is that what's going on here?
The Disney,
we're going back to
Sony
Steam.
Spider-Man stuff, just
Yeah.
public displays of the entire debate. Maybe. I'm excited for that, though. Like they did Jedi Fallen Order on Steam is exciting. I don't know why. Let's see.
Is it because you have a press account?
That's exactly why. Tyler Renault says recently
Transparency.
recently it was announced that The Last of Us 2 would be delayed. This news didn't seem to come with the normal negative reaction to a delay. Do you think people are becoming more accepting of game delays, realizing the delay might give time for developers to polish the game?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if it had been from this year to next, I think people would have been upset. But I think now the fact it's like February is okay. That's far away. I guess it's more far away. It's condensing that time frame in your head isn't necessarily that hard. So
people haven't mapped out their calendar for playing Last of Us at this point.
So unless February is especially light and people end up coming to the conclusion, oh man, we could have really used Last of Us 2 in February.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to be. I think it's a nominal difference for a lot of people.
But I do think it's also connected. Maybe this is just in my own head. I'm curious for viewers and listeners if it's the same. But I think it's connected in that same way, or in the same vein with just greater awareness around crunch in the industry and realizing that it's delaying it, but at the same time it is literally probably saving relationships and weekends and mental health for so many employees at Naughty Dog who have been busting their ass for years and years and years. And now it's they get to go home and have it probably one day of...
Well, we don't know that for sure. I mean,
That's true.
it is we are so behind the ball
It may
that
be an
you have to continue to crunch for
extended
3
crunch.
more months.
That could be, right?
But the hope would be that it's hey, if we realize what has been going on, we don't want to overwork you. We'll take a cue from the Animal Crossing devs and push the game back further.
But along with that, it's interesting with, I think with Animal Crossing, but also with Last of Us, in the announcement, they say,
They
help.
call out crunch.
They do.
Subtly. Right?
Yeah, just hey, we want to protect the health of our workers and stuff, which is nice.
I think the press for a long time has really drilled that message of delays make games better.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. And I think Naughty Dog fans probably are willing to give that extra leeway. They know they're going to, unless Naughty Dog does something crazy, they know they're going to enjoy this game. They're willing to, wait for that. And they do want, the studio to not go crazy while they're doing it too.
Yep.
So
don't go crazy.
Yes.
I think there's just also now just so much to play all the time that it stings less if your favorite game is getting pushed back a little bit because, there's other stuff I can play,
Although, I mean, Sony's lineup is so weird.
Yeah.
Like 2019 is a weird year for them. Even thinking about like Ghost of Tsushima, where it's like they reconfirmed it's coming to PS4, but it's like that's lingering out there. The Dreams release date is lingering out there. It's bizarre when they have a PlayStation 5 coming so close, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aaron Bivens says, do you guys remember the Babylon's Fall trailer from E3 2018? The game was supposed to be coming out in 2019, but it seems like there's been no other news about it. This was the Square Enix Platinum Games RPG that was just like...
Well, Dark Soulsy.
It was unclear. It was just like basically a timeline and motion graphics, and I wrote down, looking at it again, we all remember that 5017 was the Age of Dawn. We know that about Babylon's Fall.
And we all remember that about Babylon's Fall.
That's right. We all remember that about Babylon's
Columbus sailed the ocean.
Grand Blue.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry.
I definitely didn't see that question and immediately go, what is that? What is that again? And have to go look it up and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this.
It always
And
does.
I'd forgotten it.
It always does feel like there's that mix with E3 of like publishers thinking, "Hey, we got to get something out there. We got to get some kind of announcement out there, or some kind of trailer to kind of make our portfolio look, a little more exciting." And I always wonder about like, is this a thing? Is this an actual thing? Like, when is, how far along in development is this, or is this kind of just like this would be cool? Are people going to be excited about this?
Yeah. But I do love Aaron Bivens' point here. I just love that idea of, oh yeah, remember when they announced that? There's so many things at E3 that just quietly fall by the wayside because you're just awash in amazing games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, future of Platinum, we don't really know. I mean, they just released Astral Chain, which was a big effort. Bayonetta 3 they're working on. They wrapped up their work on Grand Blue Fantasy.
And I think Astral Chain was a hit, right? I think it showed up on NPD. And
I think it did all right. Yeah.
I mean, it's critically a hit, certainly. If
Yeah,
nothing else,
for sure.
so.
Hazal Mohammed, thanks for following us here. I love seeing these names. It's like, oh, I read these names 3,000 times on the podcast. He says, hello, MinnMax folk. That's us. That's you.
Oh. Wow.
Congrats on the new endeavor. That's you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hoping for big things from this crew. That's you.
We're doing what?
Hoping for big things.
Oh, big
things.
things.
Show us your big thing.
Okay, buddy.
Are you guys wearing the same glasses?
I don't think so.
Do we have like a MinnMax
Mine are
prescription?
blue on the side.
Announcing MinnMax's big thing. Swapping glasses.
There we go.
Anywho, my question is such. Given how Sony is doling out information for the PlayStation 5 in various publications, Wired comes to mind. I'd also recommend Wired.
I think Wired's the only one so far.
Do you think this is just Sony getting the nuts and bolts out of the way before wowing the general public? Or is this the PS3 era of Sony thinking they can do no wrong and we're about to see history repeat itself with this launch not going great?
I think they brought this up on the Giant Bombcast, but I think it's less about like, hey, we're going to disseminate this information, and less like, well, I guess they were going to leak this at some point, so let's work with them. So like, hey, we have this information about the PS5, and they're just like, look, we'll tell you more about it, and we can work with you to actually reveal it in an official capacity.
That's a theory. It's not insane, but at the same time, I went back and like Wired had a lot of stuff about the launch of the PS4 too. Like I think maybe Mark Cerny or whoever at Sony just has a long relationship with Wired as an institution, right?
I wonder if it's just, I mean, not that like Sony's hurting for money income or anything, but like I wonder if it's just like money saving effort. It's like in this age, you don't need to put together this like crazy press conference and spend millions of dollars.
But we all assume they're going to do that next year. They're going to have like what they had as a February event back in
that's true.
2013.
I mean, for PS4, they had like a standalone outside of E3 announcement, right? I remember us coming to the office and like covering it. And I feel like that Wired article made as much of a splash as like a big crazy announcement. Maybe not. I know,
for
it's hard
us,
to say.
but it's like they still have so much to reveal. I mean, just the physical hardware itself, which in the February 2020, I'm sorry, not 2020, the February 2013 live stream for the big reveal of the PS4, they didn't show the hardware. It was all just games from what I recall. Yeah.
It might just be them like stringing things along, kind of filling holes, where maybe they don't have games to talk about and just kind of moving us towards that point. I mean, if you can come out early with a little bit of information about like, hey, the next PlayStation is going to load games super fast, and everybody's going to be a buzz about that for a month, and it costs you nothing.
And it competes with Scorpio a little bit. Or not Scorpio, I'm sorry, Scarlet.
Yeah, then, why not do that?
And then that way, that gives them room where like, hey, what are the specs of this thing? So like, you can go access this in this thing. We've already seen it for months basically, and they can just focus on like, here's how the PlayStation 5 is going to change your life.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think they're being cocky? I think Sony's in such a weird spot. The weird Sean Layden thing. Hopefully that story comes out at some point about what the hell happened there. But
I don't think they are. I don't feel that way.
really?
No.
I think
No
so.
crossplay or I walk, and then he left.
Matthew Rewald says, the question is this: what are 1 to 3 games that you want to play in your backlog you regret not having played yet for 2019, let's say? For me,
Astral Chain.
Astral Chain. Okay, please. You have the floor.
Astral Chain, I think Indivisible is up there for me, just because like I'm a big fan of the Skullgirls team, and like the RPG stuff that I've seen from it seems interesting. Maybe at this point they'll have taken care of a lot of the bugs that Kyle found when he was playing through it.
I guess we didn't mention that. You like that game?
I like it okay. I like it. I like the art. I like the story. It was buggy. The combat was ho-hum.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I'm looking forward to play that.
Don't spoil it.
I still want to finish Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I've been playing it for 40 hours, but it's like one of those things that, gosh, there's so much left. I haven't even made it to the second half of the game, basically.
Oh my God.
The big time jump. But
yeah, same thing with like Disco Elysium, right? Where it's like, oh, I want to get into that game. People
it's
are
like
recommending
60
it.
hours, yeah.
That's tough. Yeah, for me, Knights and Bikes, which is a weird one. I really want to play from the creative director for Tearaway. Division 2, I only played a couple hours of, but I liked it, and I want to go back to it. Killer Queen Black, I love Killer Queen in the arcades, and it's insane that game is out yet, and I have not played it with friends yet. And then for the oddball choice, the Discovery Tour mode in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I've been meaning to get to that, and I haven't played it yet.
I want to play
experienced it yet.
Outer Wilds.
Yes.
That was this year, right?
Yeah, I do want to play that as
that was
well.
one that I haven't checked in on yet.
I think you'd like it.
I think I would. I hear someone said Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
And my ears perked up.
My big fear with that game is that I'm too stupid for it. Because like I just don't want to get stuck in this very obtuse puzzle or something, and it's like I don't know how to do it. And like just the fact that you have like this 20-minute loop timer is just gonna frustrate me. Of like I wasn't able to solve the puzzle in time, so now I have to start all the way over and go back in there and like do all this thing just to get back into a position where I can solve it. So like that's been one of the reasons I haven't played it yet.
Hey man, stop worrying. Jump in there. We think you're really smart.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's those glasses that really set you over the top.
Yeah, maybe it's a stream for it at some point.
I have a ton of games on my backlog that I'm ashamed of, but Days Gone, I started.
Oh,
I
interesting.
probably played
yeah.
like 5 hours. That's one
Yeah.
that I definitely want to go back to. I have
Red Dead 2.
Red Dead. That doesn't count. That was 2018, so that's even worse. I have Ghost Recon installed, which I want to play.
Really?
I haven't started. Yeah, I always like those games. I mean, I don't think it's going to blow my mind or anything, but I like to stay up on that. I have Gears installed as well that I want to get to. Outer Wilds.
Just listen to Hamilton instead. You'll get the idea.
Apparently.
I also want to play Life is Strange 2 because the final episode is on December.
That's right.
And I have
That's
not played.
right.
I technically got a code for the entire series, but I haven't touched it mostly because I like playing episodic games when they're all out. So that'll be my December game, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Tom Blackburn says, I'm so ready to ask questions for the podcast. Well, you came to the right place. Patreon.com/MinnMax.
You're on the right track.
Got it.
Yeah. Since you are shooting for a more positive vibe for the show, I don't know about more, but yeah, thanks.
As opposed to the hyper cynical takes we had on the Game Informer show.
What are your feelings on wild speculation, hype questions? If you are being enthusiasts, what games are you currently most enthusiastic about right now?
And we're like long-term, short-term.
I believe it's like just all over the place. I mean, I would kill a man to play Final Fantasy VII right now. The remaster specifically.
Kyle, you're closest.
Let's go. That's
we played it on the Dreams stream.
No,
you're right.
I emailed the CEO of Square Enix. I can make it happen.
To be fair, Jeff played it on the Dream stream, that remake within there. I didn't get to touch it.
It was very good. I'm actually excited for that one because I never played Final Fantasy VII.
Oh wow!
And I wasn't expecting a lot going into like all the they announced it forever ago, and I was like, I still don't care. But then once I started seeing the demos, it's like, okay, yeah, I should be paying attention to this. This is the way to do it. Cyberpunk, of course, is one that I'm really looking forward to. Ghost of Tsushima, as you said. A lot of mine are further out, but yeah.
I mean, Death Stranding. It's so close.
Oh, of course.
But like, I'm super excited for that. And
Oh,
Star
yeah.
Wars, I'm super
I forgot
excited
that there are
for.
people at this table who haven't
Yeah.
played it.
Yeah.
And Tsushima, I'm really excited for. It's actually one of those things where if you put Last of Us 2 and Tsushima in front of me, I think I would go
I think so too.
Tsushima.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Just because like it's so unknown, and I like Sucker Punch so much.
Yeah.
And
Feels a little bit more like interesting in terms of like even not having that many plot details. I feel like I know what The Last of Us 2 is going to be.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
still very curious
exactly.
about what Ghost of Tsushima is, but I think for me it'd probably be like sight unseen, probably Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah,
like that's
Breath of the
probably
Wild
the game that if I could play a game now, that would probably be it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hey, hell yeah, ma'am. Bob Buell.
I noticed you switched from your laptop to your phone.
Yeah, so Kyle can't cheat.
Oh,
And because
right.
the battery laptop
I see.
was
Okay.
running low. Transparency. So, hey, Bob Buell. Howdy, gents. Game show time, MFers. Below are 10 matchups comprised of 2 different Nintendo 64 game developers.
Oh gosh.
But in each matchup, one developer is real and one developer is fake and made up. It is your job to spot which one is real.
Oh, this is impossible.
Devil's Thumb Entertainment or Eye for Quality Games? Let's just go around the horn here. So just each
And we're
get
guessing
one.
which one's fake. Which
Or
one's
we're
real?
guessing which one is real.
Or
Which is more fun?
They're the same.
No, I think spot the fake.
Okay, spot.
Serial,
the fake.
spot the fake. Devil's Thumb Entertainment or Eye for Quality Games?
Eye for Quality
is the fake.
is the fake.
Devil's Thumb Entertainment is real. So Eye for Quality Games is the fake. USA Partnership for Video Games, Jeffem, or Real Time Associates?
Oh God, those both suck so bad. He's good. Whoever put this together is
Bob
doing a
Buell.
good job. The Real Time Associates
Is fake.
is fake.
That is the real one. Do you know what that is, Kyle? Dang it.
I no, but that name is super familiar.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Do you know?
I don't.
Okay,
I
we have to
don't.
look it up.
Bottom up or high fives all around?
I think high fives all around is the fake one.
Correct.
Okay.
Serial, Rhinosoft or Boss Games Studios?
Boss Game Studio is the fake.
Boss Games Studios is real.
Isn't that the Cliffy B studio?
No, that's
that's
Boss
Boss
Key.
Key.
Boss
Yep.
Key.
And
I thought
these-
Rhinosoft was real though too.
Yeah.
Jeffem, Cream Interactive or Culture Brain?
I'm gonna say Culture Brain is fake just because I want Cream Interactive to be true.
We're all hoping for some interactive cream. Culture Brain is real.
Dream of a lifetime. Is that what you?
That's right. Which I got from Mark McDonald in A4, to be fair. Oh boy, what a bad name. Bow Wow or Noise?
I think Bow Wow is the fake one.
Correct.
Right.
Noise is the real
Just
one.
Noise.
Thank you, Bob Beal. Yeah, N64 developers, that's a specific era of bad names.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Speaking of which, Dan Anderson says, did you have any other names you were planning on going with besides MinnMax? If yes, what were they?
Do you have a list?
I have the list
Okay.
of every name where the URL was open that was a consideration, at least for a fleeting second.
Yeah.
Cream
for-
Interactive.
Yeah, we're going to go with Cream. Only Cream Uninteractive was available.
Well, now that I know that it's available, Bow Wow, I think is pretty good.
Yeah, Big Bow Wow.
Yeah, big Bow Wow.
I thought this would be the fun part, was naming a company. This sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it is surprisingly hard, and you get so wrapped up in your own head about all these names and all these options, and you just need to remind yourself, like, just any two words you can throw together that have never been thrown together, and you could just call it that, and all the URLs will be free, and it'd be
Content
fine.
will make the name later, right?
Right.
That's the idea.
Right. But here's what we got. Number one. This is very much in that camp. I remember writing this down, I think in high school, as like, this is a funny combination of words. Tickle frivolous.
Oh man, I'm so glad we're not Tickle Frivolous.
I
It's
don't think
fun
you,
to
I don't think
say.
you surfaced that to us.
No, a lot of
but-
these I don't think I
okay.
serviced to
Oh,
you
okay.
guys. I only gave you guys the cream of the crop.
It's a weird phrase though. Tickle frivolous.
I like it.
yeah.
Are you sure those guys didn't make any N64 games?
Yeah, I think we're still playing that game. We have Watched Away.
Don't get it.
I don't know, like washed away, but watched away for
But then
watching
didn't
game
they
Ben
videos?
Played
Reeves
away?
come up with these?
No.
Are these a
no.
bunch of benventions?
Plateau, no.
You had the second part right.
And then I had
What if it
play,
was like Plato?
yes, or play plateau. I wrote down as a note, Kyle and Serial like play plateau.
I did. Yeah.
because to me it was like the height of like gaming or something. I don't know. And it was like I liked the what is that where you have the same letter at the beginning of the word? And
Alliteration.
Alliteration. Thank you.
What about permafrost play?
No.
Okay.
What about Plato, but it's Playto's Allegory of the Cave?
Yeah. This basement's kind of like the cave.
Yeah.
The URL might be
colder.
available.
Yeah.
Here's a thinker. Yosetti. Turns out wide open, or I owned it already. But it was
Nobody
like-
called dibs on that one.
But I think that's like my Twitter handle. But that
Yeah.
sucks to be like, hey, do you guys want to help out and make videos for Yosetti? It's like, what's out of your name? Like, that sucks. Here's something that might be a hint towards the future. Real World Open World,
Real
the
world,
show
open world.
that I wanted to make at some point. That
But
was
again, not,
open.
it's like it's a good name for something, but it's not a good name for an organization.
Yes. Okay. Fun to your head. Wide open, by the
Fun
way.
to your head. It's
Wide
like a fun to
open
your
on
head.
your
I mean, that's a
head.
good Ben
Yeah.
Hansen thing.
Thank
Yeah.
you. These two, I don't know what I was going for here. Fun Informer, Play Informer. That's
Weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Timberlake Select.
What? Like Justin Timberlake?
Well, that was the name of my parents' tomato company, and I'm like, that'd be kind of fun. That didn't get off the ground.
I'm hearing a lot of these for the first time, and I think
Yeah.
I know why.
Gang Charge.
Gang charge. Gang charge. is
Wide
good.
open. Wide open, but that's a Ben
Wide
Reed's
open
joint.
for a gang charge.
Yeah. This is $1,000 for the URL, but I was thinking of like, what's a phrase we heard all the time around Game Informer that would be a fun inside joke for us starting something new? Needs editing?
Oh, yeah.
Because Jeff, can you explain what that means?
We had a folder called Needs Editing where you would dump all your stories. Everything had
Yeah.
to kind of funnel through that.
You would hear needs editing every single day in the Game Informer office.
It's a
video
needs
of, like,
editing,
Yeah.
yeah.
So especially like if we're doing a bunch of long form videos, like I thought that'd be a fun name. It was taken on YouTube, but URL was open. Big Fun Life.
BFL.
That was $1,200 as a URL. Big Fun Joy. That was wide open. Big Fun North.
You're really into that big fun.
Yeah, I was. All Neighborhood. Center Fun. Fun Hunt.
Fun hunt. I like fun
We
hunt.
the Peepo. Small Town Big Fun. Totally Angelica. This is wide open, by the way. This is one that is the first in bold, meaning like, ooh, I think this is good.
Awesome.
If anybody else would have liked this, I would have gone with it, but it was universally hated. Sunset Writers. WRITERS.
I was kind of into it.
Were you?
I
Yeah.
didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It felt weird because like the name would be writers, but we'd be doing nothing but video.
Yeah, I think that was the problem. Is we might be doing a lot of writing.
But it's kind of fun and cheeky that way, isn't it?
no, it's
Like video
confusing.
is the sunset for writers. Okay.
See, I feel like if you have to explain it to that degree, I don't think it.
But I
Okay.
did like it. I liked the pun.
Okay, thank you. And I was talking to someone about like, I can't believe this name's open. Like it's open everywhere. Like YouTube, it's wide open. And they're like, yeah, why would a name about writing be taken on YouTube? You idiot. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Here's one. Don't read too much into it. This one was also bolded as a contender. Games Don't Stop.
Yeah, I remember that one.
One person in particular loved that name and was saying if you choose anything but that name, you're blowing it. And I did not choose that name.
And he's not in this room.
He's not
right?
in this room.
I know who you're talking about.
Play Ring, as in WRING, like ringing the most at a play.
Okay.
Attachment Ring, just deep cut to my history. Another very Game Informer thing. Cover Story Trip. Cover Story TV. Pressure Plate was open.
Okay. Pressure plate's kind of interesting. Like
As
I
like a video game
Yeah.
specific thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another one that's bolded. Nobody liked this one. Pages per second.
I don't even remember that one.
I don't know, man. I think
That
that
doesn't
was
make
a
any
little bit high. Drop in, 2 N's. Oh, weird. Also 2 N's. But drop in, like it's a place
Okay.
where you drop in, but another gaming phrase, drop in, drop out.
That just makes me think that it would be like a battle royale specialty site.
Okay. Hey, maybe it will be. Ooh, this is bad. You can't do this in a John Lasseter, post John Lasseter world. Hug Hunt.
Hug
lots
Hunt.
Of, lots of Huckleberry.
Featuring Joe Biden and John Lasseter.
Okay. All right. All right. Oh, boy. Fun Fortune Facility.
FFF.
Play after credits.
That's not bad. Not terrible.
Hands-on gaming. Okay. This is another one that was bolded. That was a contender. Super Heartland.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
I like that, but I think we were worried about it being too like.
It sounds like a truck commercial.
Yeah.
This one I was amazed was open. Gameplay Mate.
Gameplay Mate.
Yeah, Gameplay Mate. You get the word gameplay in every video on YouTube.
But Playmate is like a sexy thing.
Well, open your eyes. Yeah. I love this one so much. I was amazed this was open. Seriously, this is a contender.
Are you worried about people going and like snapping these all up now?
I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as they leave real world, open world, I'm fine. Take anything you want.
Isn't there an FCC rule that says that if you broadcast like a name of a URL, you are then like legally responsible to buy it?
Does the FCC cover basements?
Maybe.
Asking for a friend.
Let's not do any research on that and assume that it's
Yeah,
accurate.
let's just-
Yeah, we own all these.
I heard that online.
Okay, seriously, get a load of this name though. I'm very proud of it. Next Gen Sports Game. As just the name of this site. Also, Next Gen Racing Game was open. And like that is such a very specific gaming
It's weird.
thing.
I like it.
Kyle's suggestion: make the show better.
Yeah,
as the
which
name
is-
of a
which I
site.
like.
Yeah.
I
Instead, it's like
suggested
our
it.
lower tier.
Yeah.
This is when I was like, okay, I've avoided Minnesota stuff specifically. F it. What's in the word Minnesota? Maxisota was the first. That was taken everywhere. The Twitter account for Maxisota was suspended as well. So what is Maxisota doing? MinnMax, not important. I didn't stop there because I wasn't in love with it. And it was taken on YouTube and everything. So
Yeah.
that sucks. That's why MinnMax Games is all over social. MinnQuest, Mini Game,
MINNI game.
MINNI Game. That would have been fun to say over and over again. And then the last one, which I really liked as another very specific gamer deep cut thing, was optional party member. Then I realized that's kind of close to Easy Allies, I guess. But it was just like you got so specific about trying to come up with a name, and then I remember just hearing people say things in video game podcasts. I'm like, that could be the name. That's like a gaming thing. The URL's open. Like I remember listening to Giant Bomb, and Ben said he was playing some game and Dodge was on R. And I was like, Dodge on R is a fine name, or like just anything that's very specific.
Any video
that when
game term.
Yeah.
Double jump. Or like
all that crap's taken. Like
Double
split
jump was
screen,
one.
triple jump.
There was one.
Triple jump.
IGN had a running gag for a while that they were going to start a developer called on their podcast years ago called RPG Elements. Like that was going to be the name of the developer, which is like legitimately a good name for a game developer.
Wait, is that open? Is it too late to change it?
There was the one that I came up with that I was kind of proud
yeah.
of was like I was just ran Game Informer through an anagram machine.
Yeah.
And I think the most interesting one that came up was Enigma Reform,
Enigma
which
Reform,
meant
that's
nothing, but it was like that's like the what a nice coincidence that it would have two actual coherent words.
I am glad that when you brought me in and told me that you were doing this, you had already chosen MinnMax. Because I was not privy to any of those ideas. And
I'm warming up to MinnMax more and more. But also I like, what I liked about it is I always think it's funny. Oh boy, I'm sorry for doing that. When listening to other podcasts or discussions and somebody says kind of funny, not relating to their site.
Yeah.
Because it's always like, oh, it's funny. It's like an accidental plug for kind of funny. Then I realized at a certain point, like, oh, we kind of have that for MinnMax. Like, people mention MinnMaxing or MinnMax is like, hopefully that'll remind somebody, hey, I should go check out their content,
Yeah.
So it's constant advertising everywhere.
there we go.
But also it was extremely taken on every social platform, which was very annoying. But hey,
If you're
we
the
worked
owner
around
of
it.
the Twitter account MinnMax,
Yeah.
reach out to
honestly,
us.
reach out.
But then we'd have to change everything. We'd also need, we need that Twitter, because it's nice to have it
We can buy
uniform
that
as
Twitter
MinnMax
account and
games.
have that URL redirect to ours. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how the internet
All
works.
right. Suriel, a while ago, I think you mentioned this, that how much you love a segment on the NPR Politics podcast called Can't Let It Go.
Yeah. Because it's not. It's like a segment that a lot of places do. Like, I think Important Intro had their endorsements. So basically, it's like at the end of the show, let's just do a one-off thing where we talk about something that was interesting or something.
Something that stood out to us that there's no other platform for. And at Game Informer was always like, well, that's messy because the end of the show is usually a developer interview, and at the same time too, like we're rotating through so many different people. But like we could do it here at MinnMax.
Yeah.
So proud to convey,
unveil,
present. Get a load of this.
Kyle.
Well,
Is that the name of it?
you want me to present a tweet that I can't get out of my head? Is that the idea?
It's for any stray thought that's like, I want to talk about this.
Oh, okay.
As some people would say,
quick.
any juicy nugget that's stuck in your head that you want to get out there.
I feel
No
like
one who was
I
serious about it would say
drastically did not understand what this segment was.
Yes. What are you talking about?
I feel like
Yeah,
we talked through a lot of that
I
stuff.
thought it was what Kyle said was like a tweet or
That's
something
fine.
that you
Yeah,
saw that,
yeah, that's fine.
that
That's
was
fine.
stuck in
hey,
your head.
That's great. Hey, yes, whatever stood out to you this week. Serial, take it away.
Okay, so I'm on Twitter, as you guys know, and a lot of
Quit bragging.
it's hard not to be super cynical, but it's a nice reminder that there are accounts who are still like, I don't know. It feels like, you know how when you see like Twitter ads and stuff, you see like very wholesome posts. And it's
Okay.
like, oh, here's what Twitter thinks their users would post on it versus just like the most garbage like brain worms and weird in jokes that it's become now.
Yeah.
So so there's this and here's a nice convergence of those two things. So there's the Dave Benson Phillips, who is a host for like British television. He's basically like Playhouse Disney kind of stuff, but in the UK. So he's pretty prominent in like kids shows. He's basically like one of those like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse presenters kinds of things. So recently he had a bit of a kerfuffle in which, and this is where I saw it, where it said he posted from @DaveBensonPhil, regarding my recent tweet. The word I meant to type was clocks and not the word that actually appeared in my tweet.
Oh, no.
My sincerest apologies to those who were shocked or offended by my previous message, which was meant to be helpful. I was in a queue waiting for my takeaway meal. So that's the thing that I saw. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, did this guy, like, I didn't know who this guy was. And I clicked on his profile
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, he's a presenter for, Playhouse Disney. And I was like, oh, is this going to be some weird, did this guy get canceled? And here's the tweet that he had to apologize for. Have a good night, whatever you're doing. And don't forget to put your back.
Wait, what does that even mean if you typed it correctly? Don't forget to put your
talking about?
clocks back?
That's like daylight savings time, man.
Is that one? Okay. I had the
Is it
context that
daylight
like,
savings time?
It's coming up, right?
I
It's this
don't know.
weekend, right?
Maybe
I
it's different
don't
in
know.
Britain. I don't know.
Anyway,
but it's
that's
very
time's different.
That the sort of trajectory of seeing the apologies for not writing
Yeah.
clocks is
That's
so
like
good.
that's like the ideal way to come across.
Yes,
that. Is
yes,
like, oh,
yeah.
I meant clocks. Well, this is gonna be good.
I'm listening. Jeff, what do you got?
Well, okay. I didn't understand how this
Just
was working
say
or
what
anything
you
like
got.
that. The tweet that I guess was stuck in my head was someone from the community had posted a picture with the subtitle or headline that said, "I wish my wife looked at me the way that Kyle looks at Hanson." And he had a screen grab from our first video or whatever where Kyle's just like this looking at Hanson.
Yeah.
And I guess it stuck out to me just because like one of the coming together and doing this all together, one of the kind of driving forces was that kind of enthusiasm. And like you actually put together very nicely in your last days at Game Informer, you put together this huge list of emails that people wrote into the podcast because you solicited stuff that what they remembered about those of us who had been exiled. And one of those also stood out to me where they quoted Kyle as saying, "It's fun to listen to people talk about things that they're enthusiastic about."
For the Dragon Ball episode, yeah.
Yes, and that was just kind of a reinforcing idea, that picture of Kyle just being happy to be here and all of us getting along and having fun together and stuff. So
That's
what
very sweet.
stuck out to me.
Cool.
Kyle.
So I'm also unprepared, but I've been thinking about
Serial,
this.
what are they doing?
I've been thinking about this tweet a lot.
What's this new room we got here?
Let me see if I can get the volume going here.
What's this place that we can talk about here? I
see if
didn't
this
know we
works.
could speak privately on podcasts. That's very strange.
Capitalism. Space. Capitalism.
What is that?
Which, of course, is Tim Curry in Command and Conquer, I think.
Command and Conquer Red Alert 3.
And some brilliant person
Who could
just
it
took
have been?
some
Yeah.
clip of
Couldn't
like
be
a
me.
cutscene and cut off the beginning of it. So it's just Tim Curry saying capitalism, space, and then they just said the Outer Worlds 2019. And how many retweets does that have now? 10,000 retweets?
And who was
You
the genius
did it.
who did this?
It was at Serial Vasquez.
That's amazing.
You broke the
Serial.
internet.
That tweet made me laugh so hard. Like,
Wow.
It was hilarious. Yeah. So
What did you check like the analytics for that tweet? How many people saw that?
I think last time I checked it was like 1.4 million.
And you actually cut that yourself?
Yeah, I used
Video editor, Sturil Vasquez.
I mean, it's very easy to cut clips, it turns out. And you do anything else, it's like, I don't know what color correcting is.
It's impossible.
Yeah, no one's ever done it before.
Color correct this meme.
But I just used like DaVinci Resolve, which is like a free program. And I just found, because at some point I just thought, I was thinking of The Outer Worlds, and it's like, if for some reason that clip, but it's like, it doesn't make sense, because like, if you read the full quote, it's like, I'm escaping to the one place that isn't corrupted by capitalism. So at first I had it as corrupted by capitalism, space. But then I thought, like, that's not quippy enough for the internet. So I just cut
baby.
it out.
Nailed it, man. Just him going, capitalism, space.
It's the pause. It's the insanely long pause. Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, get a load of this. I feel like we're doing the Thanksgiving.
Oh, we
Start the clock.
all of us were supposed to say that. Yes, we do.
Get a load of this. Kareem, co-founder and art director over at Media Molecule, just randomly, it seems, confirmed that Dreams will be coming to the PC, which is amazing to me, right? I think it speaks to a lot, and specifically maybe how casual and loose things over at Media Molecule are still within this PlayStation structure, where on the cover story trip, it was always so cagey. Every time you would ask, is Dreams coming to PC, which I think will blow that game wide open. I think it's going to be incredible. It'd be a lot of like, I'd like to say something, but I can't. Like, that was always very literally what they were saying. It's like, okay, clearly it's not finalized, or there's something holding them back. And then there's an article on PC Gamer here where Kareem, the art director, so I'll quote this from PC Gamer saying, "Ask for their Dreams, which is currently in PS4 early access, would ever come to PC. Kareem said the studio first needed to reach a large audience on the console before expanding. Quote, but it's definitely in our dreams to do pro versions that are expanded. It just depends on a lot of things working out for us. The answer to every question is yes, but Dreams needs to reach a lot of people first in terms of whether or not it's coming to PC and beyond." And that was very much their grand vision for this thing, is like, this is just a game engine, as hopefully you've conveyed, Jeff, right? Like, this thing is a game engine almost above all else, and we want to get those tools out there. Maybe even then Media Molecule or Sony can get a cut, but just getting this to as many people as possible, especially on PC, it's going to be gigantic. And on that cover story trip, they said that there was a studio that was using Dreams to develop their VR game, and I haven't heard anything since. I don't know what that game is at this point. Maybe they were talking about Concrete Genie, because I know Concrete Genie used some of the tech from Media Molecule.
Oh, really?
But just, I love that idea that just in this interview, it seems like off the cuff, Kareem's like, oh yeah, I mean, yes, it's coming to PC. But moving on, it's like, aha! The first confirmation-ish that this will be happening.
Isn't it still qualified if, like, it's got to reach a certain threshold? Or is he saying, like,
he wants to court this audience first, right? They want to sustain it and make sure it's successful on the PS4 first.
Yeah,
but at that point, it's happening.
Yeah, like, what, is Sony going to say, no, this isn't big enough, so we're not going to let you blow it up, to this other platform and make us even more money?
Especially, maybe if it is a failure on PlayStation, and I hope it's not, then it's
it seems like even more reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So either way, especially with the announcement this week from Kojima Productions that a game that was funded by Sony is being released on PC. And as you guys reminded us, like, Quantic Dreams games, also funded by
Journey.
Funded by Sony, releasing on PC. That game company stuff. I feel like Sony is opening that door, and Dreams on PC, good Lord.
And it's weird that both Microsoft and Sony are doing that, where they just kind of see like, like PC isn't a threat to us. We'll just do whatever over there too. Yeah. That's an interesting kind of evolution of where console gaming is going.
It's interesting because, like, for Microsoft, you can kind of see it because it's like we own the largest platform there, so it's like, why wouldn't we do it? But for Sony, it's extra interesting to see like how they're kind of slowly divorcing themselves from the need to have like the PlayStation be the 100% everything
Turns
that
out
they do.
Money talks and BS walks. I don't know what the phrase is. The point is there's money to be made on a PC, so why would a company like Sony turn that down?
Like, if you're going to buy a console, we want you to buy a PlayStation. Right. But if you're going to play on PC, then just go buy our game there too.
Yeah, I wonder if this is based on like, I guess we just found like there's a whole audience of PC-only people who will never play our games unless we do this. And if whatever research they did found like, there's a significant audience that will just never buy a console, and you can court them by just releasing the games on PC.
Yes. Or they've been watching Microsoft do it for a year or two now. And said,
seems to be going well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fingers crossed for Steam. Hey, that's it. That was a long one. I don't think future episodes of the MinnMax show will be this long, but hey, I could be proven wrong. If we get this many amazing community suggestions that make the show better, then hey, we'll have to stick with it.
Whatever they want.
Yeah. We're doing this for you guys. You want Jeff to wear fewer clothes, more clothes? You want the studio to be colder,
choose.
hotter? Let us know. Patreon.com/MinnMax. So next week is we're going to start doing the shout outs and stuff like that. So if you're interested, $100 support level tier. That'll be a video only shout out. 400 we'll do audio and video shout out. Hopefully it won't be too annoying for folks. Let's see. We're going to have a bonus video, a little informational interview, I would call it, coming up later on this week. And then on Monday, if you're a $20 supporter, then we'll do another episode of MinnFax. We'll live stream just basic Q&A, and hopefully we'll actually do a viewing party there and watch a YouTube video together. Whatever everybody wants. This is all for you guys. Thanks so much for watching and listening to this episode of the MinnMax show.
Minmo.
2 N's, 2 O's.
Minmoo.
All right. Be good. Have fun. Let's go.
Thank you.
Bye.